Hello, everyone. It is August 15th at 2 p.m. Central Time, and you are watching the Transatlantic Call-In Show. This is the place where you get to call in and ask all of your questions about everything and anything trans-related, whether you are an ally or maybe, skeptical about trans issues, or maybe you're a partner of someone. Whatever the case, we are ready to talk to you. The number is 720-619-2288. And I am your host today, Arden Hart. And with me is, of course, Josie Caballero. Josie, what's up?
Hey, how are you? I am so wildly busy. I mean, the convention is next week for the DNC. I'm doing all of those things, and then I'm also did the Trans Folks for Harris call that happened on Tuesday. We raised like $26,000 for that.
Wow.
I know, of just trans people. That's wild. And so it's been, it's been days, all one big long 3-week day.
I'm sure. And I mean, I think that probably that fundraising will relate to the poll question for this week that we're going to have coming up shortly. But yeah, I mean, so sorry, I've been away for 2 weeks. So also, I don't know, I didn't really get to see the episode, so I don't know if anything interesting happened that I need to get like clued in on or anything like that. But, yeah, how were the last two? You were with Nominal Naomi last week, or was that the week before?
Yeah, that was last week. That was a good time. That was a really good time. Oh no, I think I was with Lux last time, and then it was Naomi the time before that.
Okay. Yeah, it ended up being, I thought it was only going to be one show that I missed, but it ended up being two. So that's also in part because I had some major flight delays on my way back home, but we are back. We are in the chair. We are ready to go. We've got some polls to hit, and then we are ready to take your calls. So first up, last week's poll. Is the Republican obsession with trans people weird? With 19,000 votes. Okay, this I have to point out, because I also compared to a bunch of the other polls that we've done. The average is like 10 or less than 10,000 responded. So the fact that 19,000 people wanted to chime in on their opinion on this, and 93 of them said yes, I think is very revealing of the sentiment that people are having and why this line of rhetoric from Kamala and Waltz is just hitting home so hard. So yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts you want to add on to that, Josie.
No, I mean, it's clear, and I do love that it kind of went viral outside of our typical audience here. That's really exciting. But yeah, it is weird. It is weird and creepy.
It's so true. I feel like I've been saying that for ages. Like, it's so frustrating that they can't get through like a conversation in so many cases without bringing up how weird and gross they think trans people are. And it's like, your obsession is what's weird. It's not us. Like, for the party of freedom. Yeah. Your priorities.
Yeah. It's the freedom. Yeah, it's like, oh my God. I do love the fact that like Iman Khalif is like suing J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk for defamation and cyberbullying. I hope that she takes them to the cleaners. Like J.K. Rowling hasn't even tweeted since she made those comments because probably like she's legitimately scared.
Yeah, I hope that this is like a good learning lesson for people. I hope the outcome is such that people are just like more careful about this kind of stuff. Because I mean, I'm sure we could talk about Iman Khalif for like hours. There's so much there to that whole situation, and the way that, you know, when people found out she wasn't trans, that they've waffled back and forth from like, oh, then she should be allowed to compete, to actually, no, I'm doubling down, she's definitely a man. Yeah. Like, there's just no in between, and people are so twisted on this subject. But to keep the flow going, we're going to touch on this week's poll, which was kind of a softball. I just asked, has the swing in polls toward Kamala and Welts given you hope for the future of trans rights in the U.S.? Because I'll tell you, I have had this whole year, I have been very negative. I feel like in my mindset about the battle we had ahead of us, our odds at winning, about how we were going to have to come together at the end of this. And a lot of that is still true. I mean, like, don't be complacent just because now we have a dead heat in a competition. Maybe some polls are showing us with a little bit of an edge on the lead, but that's definitely no room to get complacent. But I actually feel for the first time in like this whole year, like really truly hopeful for what America can accomplish under Kamala and Waltz. So yeah, where are you at with that, Josie?
I am so excited. Like, politics have brought a smile back to my face and isn't like this drudge of like, I hate to use these terminology, but I do. It's like before it felt like a funeral march. Now it feels like an happy, like, march with instruments, like we're going to victory, right? Like, it is so, it's like a parade now. And the energy to see people, and I think Governor Wall said it best, which was bringing joy back to
Yes.
campaigning, actually voting for someone instead of against. I think those things are so critical in this work. And yeah, I mean, I get to see um, Vice President Harris accept a nomination on Thursday next week, right? Like,
That's so
that's why I'm not
exciting.
here next week. I'm actually going to be in the arena as she accepts the nomination, and I'm going to be able to feel that energy, that crackle of, like, energy and power that's going to happen. And I'm so excited because the last time I was in a room for a president accepting their nomination, or vice nominee accepting their nomination, was Hillary Clinton,
Mm,
which I was part of the Bernie delegation in 2016. And I was there when people were literally walking out of the room and turning their backs to her. And I like that energy is going to be so much different than the unifying energy that Harris is going to be bringing, which I think is kind of interesting because the message that they tried to make in 2016 was unity, 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 and it was not unity. It was divisive.
mm-hmm.
And to see this convention actually be that, or where we don't have to say unity or else people
Right.
are going to be chanting, like, we're not going back, Harris, walls. Like, it's going to be exciting. And it's nice to be a part of a convention where I think people are coming in hopeful and not with the protest in mind.
Yeah, definitely. And, if anyone here is listening and you are in any of like the Great Lakes states or the swing states or Arizona, anything like that, please go to vote.org. Like, check your voter registration. Make sure you're registered to vote. If you have the
Go to
time and you,
Transform the Vote,
oh,
which is connected to vote.org. Okay, transformthevote.org. Check your
what
voter
Josie's saying.
registration there. Yeah, do that. It's the same thing, but at least you're actually doing it with the trans information there. So yeah, go to
Sure.
transformthevote.org.
But definitely,
It's
get
the same thing
involved to what extent you can. If you're able to do like door knocking or phone banking or text banking, I guess is that what you call it now? Or even if you just
though.
need to
Yeah.
donate some money, we got some yard signs for both Harris and Senator Colin Allred to unseat Ted Cruz. Let's go.
Heck
He's
yeah.
right there. He's so close.
He's right
Um,
there.
Feeling very hopeful. So definitely do what you can, and let's make this a blowout win. Let's not even have us be stressed.
Yeah.
But with that, we have some callers on the line. So, Josie, if you're ready, we can dive right into it. What
I'm
do you
ready.
say? All
Let's
right.
go.
Let's talk to first. Ooh, this is apt. We have Caitlin in Oregon. Pronouns are Faye or she, her, wants to talk about bottom surgery. So, Caitlin.
Go.
Oh, we're hearing the audio back, Caitlin. If you could mute the show.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep. Is that
Great.
better?
Much better. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Hi, Caitlin.
Yep.
You're live.
Yep.
What's going on?
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about couple of shows ago, remember you guys were talking about the meniscus. I think no, not the meniscus. Anyway, I wanted to talk about bottom surgery because I've been in the process of trying to make that happen. And I recently talked to my therapist about sexual function and stuff. It was kind of unrelated, but it ended up coming up. And I was just curious about your both of your knowledge and experience with sexual function after bottom surgery.
I think that's going to go more towards Josie.
Well,
if you're comfortable, I mean, I want you to.
No, it's fine. You know me. I'm an open book. Everybody knows everything about me to an uncomfortable degree, but that's my cross there as the professionally trans person I am, I like to say. So
you're so trans, you're professional at it.
Yeah, exactly. Professionally trans. That's what we say at the where I work, because we're a trans-led organization nationally.
Right.
So it depends, and it's different for everybody, right? Some people are really, really fast at recovery. Those young folks, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer. For me, it took a little bit, right? It took me probably about, I hate to say it, about a year and a half before I was like, this is great. It took me a moment, and it depends on what you do. It vary. Your mileage will vary. I will say that my drive stayed about the same from post and pre, all that stuff. It's all important. But just make sure that, and I'm also in a lesbian relationship, so it's a little bit different too, because toys are a little bit larger than the average, so basically, it's a little bit different as well, and there's a lot of different characteristics and thoughts to think about. But the drive was there. I didn't lose any of my drive, and now that I have been able to, because I'm also bisexual and polyamorous, I will say that I've had some great times. So that was good.
Yeah,
hope that helps.
I haven't had bottom surgery yet, so that's your information probably from Josie. If you're looking for personal experience, I mean, I've done like research, but I don't have any personal experience to offer you.
Yeah. That's okay. I know that you're very knowledgeable. I like watching you dunk on some of the ignorant people that call in sometimes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm just concerned about being able to orgasm and with masturbation, and I'm going to do it regardless because I know it's best for me. It's still going to make me happier overall, but that's just a minor thing.
Yeah. That before like penetration and anything, the orgasm's gone. Like they're there. Like everything's just moved around, right? Like how like for a cis woman, like where is the place that is the most pleasurable? It's the same for a trans woman with post-op too. So like just like if you can orgasm with penetration, then congratulations, you're like 25% of women. It's the same for trans women too. It takes multiple stimulation points. Sex is more than just going in. There's a lot to it, right? So it's just a dance, and you just got to learn it. You know the steps. It'll work.
I think it may be worth like trying to maybe consume some like either books or media that is kind of oriented towards like sex positivity for women in general, because I think you'll get a lot of information. I'm forgetting the title, but there's a fantastic book from this one researcher who talks about how sex mentally, when we're talking about like the psychological experience, is comprised of these inhibitory and excitatory mechanisms, and just kind of like learning how strong your inhibitory and excitatory mechanisms are and what triggers them. I think that's going to probably help you, before and after bottom surgery.
Sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, totally. Um, yeah, definitely good luck when you're picking your surgeon. That is my biggest anxiety. And I feel you on like the nerves about it. Like you can look at the data. The data shows that it's overwhelmingly almost going to be a positive experience. I started looking at a different surgeon recently, and even the people who had complications with him still talk about how much they love him as a provider and that they don't regret anything about it at all, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's valid to be like nervous and afraid about like, you know, all the possibilities.
Yeah, because I'm
It's
getting
a
into
very
the minutia
sensitive part
now.
of your body.
Yeah, like I've already known for years, over a decade, that I've wanted this, and it's felt like it's a pipe dream for the longest time. But I've been doing electrolysis for 2 years now, and I finally have my letter. So just waiting again. I'm sitting on my hand and waiting to wait. But thankfully, insurance is paying for it, and so I don't really have much of it. There's literally 2 surgeons I can choose from. So. But I feel confident in their knowledge in Oregon, so
Good.
their skills.
And I also want to say this as well, which I think it's important to say. I think a lot of trans people, especially after surgery, are like forced to be like, smiles, it's great, I'm recovering from surgery, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And we are like, but like surgery sucks. It's okay to be like, oh my God, this sucks, I'm in pain, this hurts, I hate this so much. And to be able to say that, but not say I hate that I did it, but boy, I hate
I'm not regretting it. But...
hated recovery. Yeah, I hated recovery. I actually went through a mild little depression, right? But it wasn't because I did it. It was because surgery sucked and I had complications and I had to like take extra time and it took me longer to recover because of those complications. And I just got a little depressed about surgery because surgery takes away all of your endorphins and all of that. So just know it's okay to be like, oh my God, I feel like crap. I don't like this. I don't like feeling this way. And what I said is, and I was nervous going in all the way to the very end. I was like super nervous the whole time, but I was like, after I got it done, I'm like, ugh, it's finally over with. I can't go back anyway. So whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like the what if went away. Right, because I was living like the what if, and if like didn't have surgery, I would probably still be in like, but what if I had it, right? And that when I got it done, the what if went away. It is the thing. It is what I have, and that's okay. And I always say, you know, I love what I went through, but I would never do it again. But luckily, I never do. Right, like if
you don't have to.
Some weird thing. Yeah, if something happened and I woke up and I had a penis, I'd be like, well, I guess this is what fate brought me. I'm not going through that again. You know,
but, interesting. Okay.
But yeah. But for me, it's like I highly recommend wouldn't do it again. Like, you know, that's kind of how I dealt with it in my own spirit, in my own heart, because it did suck and it hurt and I didn't like it at all. The recovery part.
Yeah, but I mean, doing hard things can be worth it. So I mean, I'm hoping.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So just know that it's going to be a journey, and recovery is a journey, and I think everybody should know that. And you know, because it's a major surgery, and it is something that takes time to recover. And like I said, it took me about 1.5 years before I was like, yeah, fun. But you know, but looking in the mirror was always great. After, you know. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, well, thank you. Do you have any specific advice, especially during? I'm most nervous about the hospital stay because just being around, like I have medical trauma, and like that's why I got into healthcare myself. After the fact, I mean, I could be recovering at home and I have more control over my surroundings, but like, I'm going to be under general anesthesia, right? And this is going to be the first time I've ever done that. You know, that's where most of the risk comes from. So,
well, it's the thing, right? And that's just the state of surgery. It wouldn't matter if you were going under for, you know, any other major surgery. You would still have to have those things. And you know, the way I looked at it is like, I'm going to get some sleep. I like it because I hate having I usually have trouble getting sleep. I've gotten better about my insomnia, but I used to have insomnia, and I'm like, ooh, I'm so excited. I don't have to force myself to go to sleep. Let it do it. Make me knock me out. You know,
It knocks you out
but
fast too.
Oh,
it does. I didn't
Okay.
even start through the countdown. I fell asleep during the conversation. I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, everything's good, everything, and I felt the cold, and then I woke up, and then I
nice.
was back. Yeah.
I'll say
Mhm.
I did have a hard time waking up one of the times that I went under anesthesia. It wasn't like a
Mhm.
bad experience, but I do vaguely remember being able to hear nurses talking and being like kind of aware but not really fully awake. Like they were
Mhm.
talking about the fact that I wasn't waking up. And
Uh-huh.
so like those things can happen, but it really wasn't a big deal because I was so like bleh from the anesthesia that I wasn't like afraid. I wasn't in my head being like, oh my God, I can't wake up. It was like, oh, well, I guess I'll be up in a few hours. And then the next
Yep.
thing I knew, I was conscious, right? So it is just a thing that
Mhm.
happens, but it's usually not a significant risk or something to be concerned about. Like those things can happen, but yeah, I tend to
Yeah.
try to
I
think
guess
of the
honestly,
odds.
I'm not as concerned about like the medical stuff. Honestly, it's more of the I really shouldn't be because I'm literally going to be in like the most accepting place I could be. I mean, these are people that like these urologists, the two surgeons that I have to choose between are board certified urologists and have been doing this work before they were doing gender affirming surgeries, and then they got into this because they were passionate about helping this community. And so, yeah, the patient. I mean, I'm in Oregon, so, but I'm just so worried about, especially since it's on such a like private and sensitive area of your body. So,
Yeah, it's definitely nerve
Yeah,
wracking.
you'll be numb down there. You'll be numb down there for
okay.
a long
Well,
time.
that's good. That's better than pain, I guess.
Yeah,
I've heard that there's
yeah,
also a lot of pain that will be.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Just
Yeah.
make sure that you have. Just make sure you have your. I'm bad with pain. I'm a baby. I have some friends of mine who are like, "It's not that bad. Why do you scare me so bad?" And I was just like, "Well, lucky you." But
Yeah.
I think on the scale of 10 pain, I had it right. So just make sure that you have the button that pushes the drugs into your body.
Yep.
I was like,
Yep.
button. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, well, so I don't want to take too much time, but
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to mention is I'm doing an interview later today for a podcast that's pretty awesome called Becoming Her. There's this YouTube channel that's trans femme, like a trans affirming videos, like hypnotherapy and meditation, ASMR stuff. But she does a podcast, and so I'm interviewing on that, and I'm like kind of nervous about that, and so because I've never been so public. Oh, well, thank you.
You just did this. So I guess you're
I
fine.
did, yeah. This is my third time calling in now, so.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for calling in, Caitlin. Good luck with your interview, and good luck with working out surgery stuff. I'm there with you. I empathize deeply with the nerves that it brings. So, yeah. Best luck.
Yep. Thank you both for doing what you do in all of your endeavors.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bye, Caitlin.
Right. Bye.
Bye.
Oh.
You know, I'm actually going in for revision on September 11th, right?
Ooh, really? I did not know that. Well, maybe you did tell me.
Yeah.
I'm forgetful, so. Well, that's hopefully exciting and good, like a positive thing to look forward to.
It is. Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
I get 2 weeks off. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's it.
Yeah, no doubt with your schedule.
Yeah.
All right, looking at the call list, I'm thinking caller 10-1 in London. Let's talk to Harry, pronouns he, him, in London.
Okay.
Because I think maybe this could be a question with some disagreement, so we'll see. Harry in London, you are live. What's going on?
Hi there. Thanks for having me. Yeah, no, actually, I don't think. Well, I'm not intending to disagree with you, I must say. And having listened to that previous call, I just have to say how incredibly I haven't really taken into account the bravery necessary to to transition, and like in like a medical sense, that's really something, and I can only like express admiration for that.
Well, thanks,
I
Harry.
appreciate that.
So you want to talk about the cast report? Does that brought you concern? Or are you concerned about maybe the cast report itself? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, so obviously I live in the UK, and I'm really finding it difficult to get a solid grip on what is going on with the cast report. Like I don't consider. I don't know. Like there's obviously a lot of criticism of it, and a lot of that criticism seems like it's fairly sound. I don't understand the science myself, and at the same time, there are people who I would otherwise trust who are saying that the criticisms are largely unfounded, and yet I don't know. I thought I would ask your folks' opinion.
Yeah. So my understanding is that one of the British medical like doctors unions like we have in the US, like the American Medical Association, we have like the American we have all these different associations of like doctor unions where they're from different specialties and things like that. I'm pretty sure one of the major ones in the UK, the British Medical Association, is supposed to be doing a review of the cast report and maybe a critique. I don't know if that's already happened or not. I think
yeah, they are. They're still undergoing that.
Oh, it's still undergoing. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think from my understanding, a lot of the critiques are both the like inclusion criteria of studies that they chose to allow in. So, you know, when they're only allowing in certain types of studies, it's going to impact the results. You know, sure, the results may look inconclusive if you don't include the majority of the data that's applying to the topic. I think there are some concerns with the methodology. There's concerns with the conclusions that they reach based on their evaluations. So there's a number of problems with it. I think the least of which is, so let's say that the conclusions of the cast report are right, that we don't have enough information to say for sure that there are no risks for minors getting gender affirming care, right? Okay. So there's potentially some risks there or whatever. And by the way, we have a pretty solid grasp on what the risks are and what the guidelines are to avoid those risks. But all of that aside, the point of medicine is not to guarantee you when you're getting a treatment that there will be no risks, no side effects, that there will be no potential fallout. We're doing a utilitarian math, right? We're looking at the situation and saying, this is going to make your life better by what we see from the data, probably a significant enough margin that what risks are ostensibly there, we're willing to take, because the likelihood is that it's going to improve your life. So medicine is it's such a silly standard to hold that medicine needs to, prove conclusively beyond a reasonable doubt that there will be no side effects or that there's no like real risk of harm. Like, I think the problem that I see with the cast report is it seems like it's a attempt to like just cast doubt and based on like a misunderstanding of how medicine works. But I don't know, Josie, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said as well. And this is what I think is difficult when this stuff comes out. It's like, once it's added to the list of things, like it's really hard to like, even if we were to discredit the cast report tomorrow, let's say it comes out and it's like the cast report is complete rubbish and it was meant to be used in this way, people would still be citing the cast report in the reasons of why they shouldn't give gender affirming care to minors in the UK and even in the United States. And it's one of those situations where right. So the toothpaste is already out of the tube and we can discredit it. And we already have discredited it in so many ways, from the fact that Dr. Cass was used in many like briefs in Florida and was already about anti-trans. Like the whole thing is just complete garbage. Right. And so really it comes down to, and I think that's why Arden's argument is so good, is about the fact of, is this really the way that we should take medicine? Is this the precedent that we want to set? Right? When I had a call last week with a caller, they were specifically talking about how trans healthcare people should be able to go in and tell doctors what they can and cannot provide in the medical profession. And the amount of precedent that sets is like all medicine is now up for grabs, and now politicians that have no understanding of this medical profession and discipline can now stop certain things from happening that they don't like. It started with abortion, now it's gender affirming care, and it's just going down the line to the next thing that maybe make another politician feel weird about something, right? Even IVF is on the chopping block. These are the things that they're creating when they go into this field. And what they need to do, and what politicians need to do, is stay the hell out of people's personal lives and family care, and listen to the medical providers on what they're going to do, because these are multidisciplinary procedures and doctor prescribed healthcare that is done with the family, the patient, and a whole litany of doctors. Let medicine progress the way that it progresses, and stop being weird and trying to make people go into like their own, like, oh, I, person on the street, should be able to go into this family's life and tell them that they can't get this particular piece of medicine because I'm going to cite some random study. Because if it wasn't the Cass report, it would still be the Swiss study. It would still be the another study. Yep. It would still be something else. And we just have to continue the fight for the fact that people need to have access to doctor prescribed healthcare, and we don't need politicians meddling with that.
Mm-hmm. You've really illuminated that for me, Josie. Thank you. Like, I've spent 10 years of my life fighting against a different, obviously false study, the Quilliam report, which is about street grooming, and created the term grooming gangs by cherry picking data and like a whole host of errors. And yeah, it was immediately refuted and debunked widely. And I've still spent 10 years of my life fighting with disinformation that breeds off of it. And you're up. I'm going to have to look at it again with that point of view. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, absolutely,
No
Harry.
problem, Harry. Is there anything else you wanted us to touch on? Anything you think we missed, or you want us to get to on that?
Do you know, I do have an unrelated question that I don't really have anybody else in my life that I've been able to ask, and I think you might have an answer for me.
Okay.
And it's a silly one. Years ago, I worked in a factory, and a new chap started working there, and I felt quite attracted to them, which was new to me. And then I found out afterwards that he was trans, basically, which was fine, and nothing ever happened in that regard. And actually, afterward, I got some mockery from some friends, which I have no problem with about it. I mean, the mockery itself is neither here nor there. But my question is just about how one's sexuality relates to one's gender. Like, and like I say, this is a ridiculous, stupid question, and I feel embarrassed for asking it. But I will ask it.
Okay.
Ooh, sorry, I think the line's gone a bit funny.
No, sorry. I was just affirming, but I shouldn't have. Anyway, continue.
Okay. So my question is, if I, as a straight man, date a trans man, there is obviously
I
some.
Think that makes you,
I'm sure.
I think that makes you bi, Harry. If you are attracted to a man and you identify as a man, regardless if they're a trans man, that would make you bisexual. if you because and it's like a lot of times it's like fair. As long as as it because the genitals really have nothing to do with it, right? It's about the attractiveness to the masculinity that person is showing forward to you and their identity, and that is how it goes. Like, for example, Harry, I'm sure that you may find some trans women very attractive, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's kind of the same thing. It's like you're attracted to some trans women, you're attracted to some trans men. I think that you're probably more on the spectrum than straight than you think.
Yeah. Of course, no. Yeah, now you pointed that out. It's completely obvious to me. Thank you very much.
I think the only thing I'll add is that I think I know there's some maybe disagreement on this. I would wager that perception is also important. Like if somebody maybe identifies as non-binary but is like cis-passing or maybe presents very much towards like one binary direction. If you are a straight man and they're presenting very feminine and you're attracted to them because in your mind you think they're a woman, I don't think that makes you suddenly bisexual in my mind. I think your perception was maybe not correct in your assessment about their gender, but I think you were evaluating your attractiveness to that person on what your perception of them was. That's how I view that, but I don't think but like Josie said, if there is a trans man and you're attracted to his masculinity, like you're attracted to a man, right? Like that's not there's no confusion about that there.
No, yeah, you're actually closer to the mark, I think, and that I think, yeah, really, that was the emotions I was struggling with. Was the misconceptions that, because that's closer to the mark. Which is, unfortunate because you don't want to be invalidating anybody's identity by putting stuff onto them.
Yeah, I think right. Which is what I think in that situation it's maybe better to like if you know that they're a trans man and you have like misunderstood what you thought their identity was, maybe it's better to keep that attraction to yourself because at that point that would be like misgendering them, kind of being cruel. But anyway, Josie,
Absolutely. Like, a person doesn't want to be attracted to you as in the gender that they don't want to be attracted in, right? Now, if you're attracted to this person, right, and then you find out, oh, they're actually a trans man, I'm still attracted to this person, and it's okay that they're a man because I'm going to see them as a man, then go for it, right? Like that's kind of how you have to, because if all of a sudden, like, you see somebody and you misgendered them in your mind by accident, right? And you just didn't know who they were. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, that's a man? Oh, I'm not attracted to that person. Yeah, keep that attraction to yourself. Because at that point you are now understanding differently of, like, what that is. Does that make sense, or did we just make it more confusing, Harry?
No. No, you hit the trifecta, because that is actually my entire situation was that I met them, was attracted to them, and if they had, if I had said anything to them, which I didn't because I was confused about it, then I would happily have been like, okay, clearly I am, but there was that misapprehension first, which is like a third thing, and is unfortunate and a mistake on my part, really, and you hit all the points there. Thank you very much. That was comprehensive.
No worries. And all of this is just us talking about like the nature of attraction and things like that. When it comes to like if you're concerned about like a label, I would very much advise like labels are only really useful to like give somebody a general sense of who you are. It's never going to capture the full, scope of your sexuality. So, if you're worried about labels, I would say that's maybe another fight.
No, it wasn't the labels. It was, as you were saying, it was that conversation of attractiveness and attractedness. Absolutely, it was that, and I really appreciate the context there. That was great. Thank you.
No. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for calling, Harry.
Right. Thanks, Harry.
Have a good day. Take care.
You all. Bye. Alrighty, we do have more callers on the line. I might close the lines because I know, Josie, you said you've got a stop time.
Well, I mean, it's not for another 2.5 hours technically, but
Sure.
yeah,
We do have 5
it's
callers on the line though, so I might. Well, we can open them back up if we want to later. I'm gonna close the lines for now, so no new callers will be
for
coming
now.
in. But if you're currently on the line, actually, can they hear me? I don't know if I set that. Okay, they should be able to hear me. So if you're currently on the line, we are gonna do our best to get to you. So no need to drop or anything like that.
Yeah, and
Let me
if we
run
get through them
through
fast, we might open it back up.
show announcements. Yeah, exactly. Let me run through show announcements really quick. This Sunday on the early show, it's going to be Forrest Valkai, and it was supposed to be Eric from Skeptics and Scoundrels, but he has a family thing that's come up, so we're going to swap him out. I don't know who yet. Late show will be Forrest Valkai with Matt Dillahunty. Forrest is going to be hosting on Monday with, oh, I forgot the name. It's not listed on the schedule, but I was told it earlier. I have no idea who this person is. Jesse Jordan. So if any of you guys know who that is and want to get excited, there you go. Sorry, Jesse, I I don't know who you are. Nothing personal. Alyssa will be hosting Chewed Gum next week with an unconfirmed guest. Then next Wednesday will be Jimmy and Paul from Paulogia hosting the Hang Up because Matt's going to be out of town. Then it'll be Dr. Ben and Luxander back here on Takis next week. So with all of that, dribbling out of my mouth because I feel like I stuttered a bunch throughout that. Let's take this next caller. We've got Jess, pronouns are he, him in California, who has a question, has a child who's trans, and got told that believing somebody is trans is like believing in God. Man, I love this one. This is a classic. So Jess, you are live. Let's get into it. Why don't you pitch us from your perspective? What's going on?
Oh yeah, so I was listening to an older show, and I think it was Katy in that, I think. And the guy brought up the question. He's like, "What's the difference between belief in your gender identity and belief in God?" And they didn't really go into it because he had called about something else. But I started thinking about it because again, I'm learning everything right now, and so my personal answer was that I was calling to kind of get a different perspective is, well, one is kind of based in science and the other is based in faith, if you just want to break it down. And hopefully we're on the same page as to what is what. But that's kind of where I came up with just as a general answer. I mean, there's more to it. It's very nuanced too, but I mean, that's kind of the base thing right there. It's like one is based in reality and the other is not. So I just kind of wanted to get your perspective on that as well.
Yeah, I think that's the most important one, right? Is when we're talking about trans people existing, we're talking about like a mental state that we know this population with this mental state exists. We have so much evidence for that. When somebody's talking about belief in God, they're talking about a belief in an entity that, depending on the God, could be outside of space and time, whatever the fuck that means, could be the creator of all universe. Like, there's so many claims around that we have absolutely no evidence for, and nothing can demonstrate it, or nothing has demonstrated it thus far. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that is the first big point, is that one is a claim of faith and one is a claim about people who we know exist.
Yeah, that's kind of that's where I come up with myself too. Because like I said, it was funny because my child came out. Oh God, was it about 2 years ago? Yeah, it was about 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. And at the time, they were living in Maine, and I was out there visiting family, and they were afraid to tell me. And I'm like, why are you afraid to tell me? I'm like, I'm super loose. I'm like, I'm not the judgy type. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, you're my kid. I'm going to accept you. I said, there's 3 things you can't do. And as long as you don't do those 3 things, we're good. So yeah, and that's, it was kind of like a joke thing, the 3 things, but,
of course.
No, that was the whole thing, was like, I'm trying to learn it. Like, I learned another thing. I was watching the show. I think it was Forrest and maybe Godless Engineer. I think it might have been now. I can't remember the other person, but the guy had called in and he said his pronouns were attack helicopter. I think that was yeah. And they tore into him, and I'm like, what? I didn't know. I'm like, what was wrong with it? I mean, the guy was kind of a douche, forgive the language, but yeah. So I asked I asked my kid when I got home, I'm like, so what's up with the attack helicopter thing? And they told me it was like a dog whistle.
Yep.
From a few years back. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, now I understand. So that's the whole thing is I'm in the process of learning everything and trying to understand stuff. I've done a lot of research, so, it's just it's a process.
It is.
Definitely.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. And thank you for listening to your kid and being accepting. I think that's incredibly important. And I bet your relationship with your kid got better, right? Because it's like now you became that safe, accepting person in their lives that they can always go to as a foundation, as a rock. And that is so special. And that relationship is so special.
I needed them to know that. But it's like, you can come to me. And here, the whole thing, I told them, I said, look, I may not understand everything. It doesn't mean I'm not going to accept you and listen to it. It's explain it to me, and I'll learn. But if I don't know something, you got to tell me. Otherwise, I'm going to be like, I don't know. So that's the main thing. Is you got to be open and listen.
Yeah.
But that was my main question. Was that one? I was just like, well, I mean, it seems kind of obvious, but they didn't really dig into it. So I just kind of wanted to get another perspective on it. And,
I think the only other thing I would add to this is if you run into this conversation again is to point out that I agree you never have access to someone's thoughts. So there's an element of trust going on. I wouldn't call that faith. But there's an element of trust going on that somebody is honestly reporting their internal state accurately when someone's talking about their trans identity. But if you're going to say that is equivalent to faith claims, you're also going to have to now suddenly be suspicious of every claim that somebody ever makes about their internal state. If your kid tells you you're hungry, you're going to need proof of that now. I'm going to need to see some evidence that you're real hungry. Otherwise, that's just a faith claim. Your kid says they like vanilla ice cream over chocolate. That's just a faith claim. I have no evidence of that in your internal state. Like, see how ridiculous it becomes, right? Like, sure, we acknowledge that people can be dishonest, but most of the time when people are reporting their internal state, they're pretty honest about it. And that's why doctors, when you're prescribing pain meds and things like that, generally just say, yeah, if my patient says they're in pain, they're probably in pain. Like, I'm not not gonna most of the time make them like jump through hoops unless there's reason to believe there's something else suspicious going on there. So yeah,
that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you guys. Thank you both.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, Jess.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Appreciate your time.
Bye.
It's fun. This happens a lot on the show where people's topic will be about a controversial topic. And so I'll take them on being like, all right, I've got my list of things that I talk about for this topic. I know how to handle this one. And then they're like on my side about it. And I'm like, okay, well, I have to find a way to inject these things into the conversation because it's like, I think that repetition is helpful for people when they're, hearing the similar arguments over and over again. So when they go to encounter that in the real world, like they know those responses, they know what's effective at addressing that topic.
Tim Walz, he says, the choir's got to sing. I say the choir's got to practice, right? Like, you're preaching to the choir. It's like, well, the choir's got to practice. Like, if you don't practice, you're going to be a pretty shitty choir. So.
Right. All right. We have 4 more calls to start working through. We might end up opening the lines. We're making really good time on these calls. So
we are. Yeah.
I'll open like 2 more lines for now. That way. And then if we have, anyway, continue. We're going to talk to Giddy. Pronouns are he, him, in Utah. Has questions that I, as a cis dude, don't experience. That's the note from Giddy. So we're going to bring Giddy in. Giddy, you are live on the line. Tell us what's going on.
Hi, if you would like me to be antagonistic, I can pretend to be.
No, that's okay.
No, that's fine. Oh, no, we want it. We want authenticity.
Okay, in that case, I have 2 questions about a thing that I, as a cis dude, don't experience, which is feeling unsafe in public. So my question would be, when in public, what snap judgments and choices do you make about people for your safety, and how does that differ, passing or not, non-binary, etc.? Yeah.
Yeah. That's huge. Josie,
that's a good question. Yeah. So there's a couple things here, right, to unpack. There is a lot of judgment, kind of brings me back to that bear or man question in the woods, right? Of like, the idea of like, if you're a non-cis person walking at night and you see, a man on his own, it's like you're like, oh gosh, this could be an unsafe situation because we're just trying to protect ourselves and be safe. And I think you're probably pretty aware of that understanding and understanding why people make snap judgments, because there is an idea of general safety. And when it comes to passing, that is a tough one, right? Because it really depends on where you live, right? Like if you're in the Castro district of San Francisco, you probably don't need a pass at all, and you can just go right into the world and everybody be like, hey girl, what's up, right? And it'll be fine. But if you are in like, rural Tennessee, or like, I'm calling out states here, but rural Alabama, you're probably going to be in a situation where passing means more, right? Like when I'm going on a road trip, right, I know like, oh, this stop's going to be fine. But there are some states I won't go on a road trip until I put my makeup on. Right, like, and it could be a little rest stop or anything, and I'm like, oh, I better put my eyeliner on. I better, put some lipstick on, just to double check, just to make sure, and and just bringing up my hyper femininity just a tad bit, and so there's a lot of judgment calls, and and I like the way you frame this question of like not having to experience these things. But the reality of having to experience these things is that you think about it all the time. At all times, we think about this a lot. I've been doing an exercise personally because I live in the DC, Maryland area. Is I have, if I'm wearing my little fanny pack and it has like, and it hugs my chest, I actually have like a trans heart sticker that I put right in the middle of my chest. And I do that as an exercise for myself because I know I got passing privilege and I understand that I have passing privilege. But I put that there so I can help experience what my non-passing siblings can deal with on an everyday basis. I do that as kind of like my own exercise to see how safe do I actually feel out in public when I'm literally putting a sign on my chest saying, hey, I'm trans. And and it's one of those things that it's incredibly difficult, and I do it because I want to know how my community feels around me when they don't have that luxury that I have a lot of times. And I think that's the most important part about it is, what is it like to experience it? Well, you're thinking about it all the time. It's always a hum in the back of your head being like, am I going to be safe? Am I going to be safe? Am I going to be safe? And it just becomes that little white noise as you walk through the world. And it's stressful.
Yeah. I think I would absolutely agree that I think, well, at least I can't speak for every trans person, but I think most of us think about it all the time. Growing up in a high school where I got bullied relentlessly has me hyper aware of when I interact with just about anyone, what their expressions are like, what's their body language towards me, like, do I need to be concerned, do I need to get out of the situation, like, those are all things I definitely think about regularly. And there have been times where, like, at reptile expos, I have been thus far, although I think I am nearly to the point where I'm confident enough, not really putting like pride stuff on my table or like left-leaning stuff, because there are so many right-wing people there. But I think last weekend was kind of a push over the edge moment for me, because every Republican, every right-wing person in that area feels confident enough to proudly wear things. And, it's like, this is the frustrating thing about like marginalization and oppression, is it's like, will it probably put me at risk to have pride stuff at my table? Yeah, probably. But also, I kind of feel a little bit of a sense of obligation that I'm an adult and that probably nothing's going to happen. And there's probably a lot of kids with their parents at those expos who are, baby queers, who aren't out of the closet yet, and who really just need to see that somebody can be confident and happy and positive in their, presence, who's from that community. So, yeah, I think there's also the element of that sense of burden for carrying the torch for the next generation, that like I feel a deep sense of obligation, because I remember what it was like to be that kid and being afraid of everything and everyone, and like justifiably to a certain extent, and needing to make sure that those people know that the whole world is not like that. I will say generally, I do believe that most people are more concerned with themselves than other people. Most people don't really care that an individual is trans. A lot of people do care about the stuff they hear on the media, which isn't always good information, but it's probably the case that most people are fine, but you don't know. I can't, by just looking at someone, always tell whether or not they're going to be somebody who will respect me and give me the space to live my life how I see fit, or if they're going to be someone who thinks that they need to impose their views about trans people on top of me. It's hard to know just by looking at someone. But yeah, how's all that land with you,
Yeah,
Katy?
Katy, what are your thoughts?
I'm about like 3.5 paragraphs back, still thinking.
That's fair.
I do have one question after hearing your argument, Arden, which would be actually. Sorry, hold on. There's so many words. I gotta they're coming into my brain right now.
That's okay. No worries.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on the man and bear thing.
Sorry
Yeah.
to do that to you, Giddy.
I play Baldur's Gate 3, so I pick the bear every time.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So, yeah. Hopefully you get that reference. Otherwise, I'm a nerd.
No, I am totally with you. I love Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay, good. Anyway. Okay, let's get back on rails. So, Arden, to ask upon your answer, let's say you do get approached in public. Actually, I'll refer to this then. So during last week's call, I used the word transgenderism. Never heard the word before in my life. It just made sense to use the ism suffix. Mm-hmm. I feel bad after learning that it had become derogatory, so my bad.
It's all right.
Anyway, yeah. So I was well-meaning but uninformed. And I was told that word can be a marker, a signal that to gauge someone's agenda and such and such. So if you're talking to someone, especially if you've been approached or confronted, how do you gauge in conversation when there is more information, whether or not that person is well-meaning but misinformed but willing to learn, or maybe they're not so well-meaning? How do you gauge when conversation does happen?
I mean, it's a little bit hard. I think there's an element of sort of like a PTSD sensor, right? Where you're kind of like, what's their tone of voice? What kind of topics are they trying to broach with me? Are they, because most trans people are going to be open to respectful dialogue on transness if they're out in public. But if someone's coming up to me and bringing it up and I don't know that person, I mean, that's going to be obviously pretty concerning to me, that okay, this person at the very least doesn't understand that they're violating a boundary, and that's going to be a red flag. But Josie, sorry, you look like you were about to jump in.
Yeah, I want to jump in here just really quick, Giddy, and I want to bring it into a real life example that you experience. I know because I presented as a cis man for 34 years of my life, and some of those years were in the Navy. Think about locker room talk, right? Think about talk where you're with the boys and you're having a conversation and somebody is talking derogatorily about a woman, right? You kind of know that that's happening, right? It's around you. You're just like, oh, this guy's kind of just doing sexual conquest talk and is really being disrespectful to women as a whole or whatever. There's kind of a tone to it. Is that and you will be more likely to talk to somebody who thinks that you're an ally to their bigoted beliefs of being like, oh, these transgenders, they're, wouldn't it be bad if like a trans woman didn't tell you she was trans and you tried to get her in bed, da 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 da. Like there's a tone to it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Or is that what you're trying to get at there?
Well, I guess I love talking to people and asking about their experiences. So I would never.
Sure.
This is just foreign to me. Why you would go up to talk to someone if you don't like them or nothing? So I'm just confused. But that does. Well, I guess you're right in that I do experience that. But I surround myself with people that aren't so disagreeable. So
Good.
It's been a long time since I felt that.
I would
Yeah.
say. Oh, sorry. No, go, Josie. I don't want to.
Yeah, I will say this too, Giddy, is like when and Arden already said it as well, is if you are already a safe space, and this is this is how I usually frame this question. So thank you for working this out with me. So this is how I usually do it. In different situations, let's get away from the trans conversation whatsoever. There are different conversations that you have with people based on the relationships that you have with them. So, for example, a family member going through something that's very traumatic, like, like maybe cancer or a medical condition that they're suffering with, you probably have intimate knowledge about what's going on in that person's life. Just same difference with somebody who's a close friend, like a best friend, and they're dealing with something and you have a certain level of closeness that you can be like, well, tell me about that. What does that mean to you? Right. And then you go out further in that circle of people who are just friends that you maybe have a game night every now and then. Those conversations are all different and they all have different layers of how deep you can go with them. Right. And if you're an acquaintance, it's like, hey, the weather's great. Like, how are you doing? Did you go to that event the other day? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to the complete stranger conversation of like, hey, how are you? I'd love to get let's grab coffee. And then you kind of bring those rings closer to when you can start having conversations with somebody. So if it's a complete stranger, you're not going to ask somebody about their medical history, right? If it's an acquaintance, you're probably not going to do that either, right? But if it's a friend that you kind of have a good relationship with, or a college friend, or somebody that you've had deep conversations with before, it's like, oh, I saw on Facebook that you have, a medical condition. Like, how is that for you? Is there any way I can help you? And then you're in the space, right? And that's how I kind of gauge the trans conversation with somebody who is trans. If you are friends with somebody who is trans already, then you're probably going to have a lot better conversation with how they feel about their transness, and allowing them to kind of like outreach to you and ask questions that are more intimate, that they're more likely to share with you just because of their relationship circle with you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I did not know that. I didn't know that was a thing. I just never thought about that.
Yeah.
I think also too, earlier you were saying how like you don't know how people could just want to approach someone in a hostile way, and I think it's worth noting that anti-trans, anti-queer bigotry, much like every other form of like group hatred that we've seen in the past, whether it's the hatred of Black people or the hatred of Irish people, or however far back you want to go, generally it's wrapped up in a little bit more of a complex web of misinformation. Like, these people often think that we're grooming and indoctrinating children, and there's an element of, if you sincerely believe that, you probably do feel a bit of a sense of entitlement and righteous fury to go up to that person and kind of like, try to address something with them. Now, I'll say a lot of that hasn't happened to me since I was like in high school, but to what element of that is, passing privilege or something, I'm not sure. Well, I guess I did have one guy call me Matt's husband in front of an entire crowd, but that was one of Matt's debate opponents, who was a just monumental piece of shit. So that was like a debate bro tactic. It wasn't necessarily like a stranger coming up to me trying to be hostile. Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult, but it's, I don't know. Are we getting to the answer your questions, or do you feel like we're still missing anything, or what's going on?
No, I'm still obsessed with that bear. But otherwise, the answers are there.
Sure. Well, if you think about it, maybe after the call, maybe listen back and see if there's anything like that you think you want to maybe call back on next week and like see if you can. It's not going to be Josie or I. It's going to be Ben and Luxander, but I'm sure they'll also have valuable input for you. So maybe, just like think about it a little more. If you think there's anything we missed, bring it up to them, and maybe they'll hit something that we didn't.
Okay. That's about it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Giddy. Have a nice day.
Thanks, Giddy.
Yep.
Bye. Okay.
The bear is there.
It's so hard to communicate, like, the sense of, oh, this person has a problem with me, and probably in part because of, like, it's, I don't know how to describe it other than it's a vibe. And a vibe is, I realize it's like a completely meaningless statement, but I think anyone who's been in that situation knows, it's a combination of so many different subtle cues that you're weaving together to go, oh, like, this person actually has a problem with me or something. And yeah, it's weird. It's hard to articulate, I feel like, in a
That's why I like to use the relationship circles, right, that you have in your own personal life, from like intimate partner, family, best friend, acquaintance, stranger. I think if you look at the type of conversations you have with those people in your normal everyday life, it's easy to kind of know where the boundaries are with people on certain personal topics.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what helps me. But I'm also an extroverted autist, so
sure,
I need rules. I am like an onion.
Layers. Just another reminder before we continue on that we will read all your super chats at the end that are over $5. So if you want to send a super chat of $5 or more, you can make us say crazy shit. And also, patreon.com/calltheline is the best way to support this network and everyone on it. You can get access to an exclusive Patreon podcast, the occasional Zoom Q&A session, and getting your names on like the credits at the end of one of these shows, as well as opportunities for like little merch drops and discounts and things like that. So definitely go subscribe to patreon.com/calltheline to support us and our work here. All right. We've got 3 more callers. There are 2 lines open, so it's not... Oh, actually, I just realized I have to do 2 more lines than there are currently calls for there to actually be lines open. So while I meant to have 2 lines open all this time, there were not. Now there are 2 lines open. But probably will close them after not long if more people fill in right away, because I know... Anyway, let's move on. Brenda, she, her, in Minnesota, has general questions as a trans woman online and in social media. Brenda... You are live on Transatlantic. What's going on?
Good afternoon. How are you?
Doing well.
Doing well.
Yeah, so, generally I'm just, I engage with people who are very much to the right of me, and I just get an awful lot of hate and abuse from them, and it just gets super, super hard. But stupid me, I'm thinking of actually, creating like YouTube content, and YouTube content does better if you appear on the screen, and I'm just really hesitant to do that, because I'm not as passable as y'all are, and it just seems like it would be really hard. So I just have this hesitance. But it's still something that I really enjoy, which is debating people on issues, and not having to do with gender even. It's just that as a transgender, as soon as when they feel like they're losing, then all these slurs come out.
Uh-huh.
And it's just because they always lose, because I'm always right.
Right.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
Is there, so that's a good like background. Is there like a question there? Are you asking like how we deal with it, or like what are some tips? Like what's the question there?
How do you deal with it? 2, I'm just complaining and bitching about it. Looking at, I didn't always get a lot of support from cisgendered people, regular people. I didn't always get that. A lot of times what would happen is I get epithets hurled at me and I would react angrily, and then I would have nobody taking my back, nobody supporting me. They would in fact attack me because I'm at fault for getting angry at being abused, right?
Yeah.
And it's just grossly unfair, and it doesn't feel like that anymore too much. Anymore, I think I do have people that do support me, but sometimes they're not always there. And, the dynamics are really strange. For instance, for one thing, I can explain something to somebody and they will dismiss it if they're an debate opponent. And then you have a cisgendered male explain it, and they, oh, okay, yeah, that's right. It's like,
Yeah.
you just you start behind the starting line.
Yeah.
Just being transgender.
I think, this doesn't go for everybody. I think for me, part of the reason that I tolerate the endless stream of bullshit and harassment that comes with being a trans person online is because of what we were talking about earlier, where I care a lot about the next generation. I would really like to see the next generation not have to have as many of these conversations. And so I'm very invested in having these conversations to hopefully help push, to what extent I can push the dialogue about this country in a certain direction, in hopes that young people growing up don't have to have these conversations. They don't have to defend themselves all the time to everyone around them. They don't have to be in that position you are in, Brenda, which I deeply relate to, arguing with people who are maybe being abusive in some way, and having nobody have your back because you justifiably got upset and angry at them. Like, it's the frustrating thing with, when we're talking about debates and with Trump supporters and things like that, like they will deny reality. They will advocate for a insurrectionist bigot for president, but if you are rude to them, all of a sudden it's like you've done something wrong, and it's like, whoa, I have no respect left in my tank for people who are going to. It's one thing to be like, I don't know who I want to vote for, I'm uninformed, I'm leaning towards Trump. That's just a situation of ignorance. But when you are proudly, proclaiming allegiance in that direction, that's where it becomes to me like, oh, you have like a blatant disregard for the truth and well-being of others. No respect left for you.
I will say that I'm feeling a lot more optimistic lately. I mean, with the turnaround in the political situation, it really seems like I'm from Minnesota, and Walz is great. I mean, he really is. And also, Minneapolis, where I live, I don't have any problems here. There's,
your council president, black trans woman.
Yeah, so So I exclusively have these problems online, and it's because I choose to engage in certain debates. But that's simply because I enjoy it, and it really feels like you get told, "Oh, you have to get a thick skin," and it really feels unfair because I'm supposed to have the thick skin, but they don't. And I point out, if you said the kinds of things to me that you would say, if you said those things, to a black person, that wouldn't fly. And yet they feel like they have the right or the privilege to, because you're at the bottom of the totem pole. There's a totem. I don't like that there's even a totem pole, but they think that there is. And therefore they get to beat up on you because that's who you are. And it just bothers me. And I want to push back on that. My only solution that I've been able to, misgendering is like, that's just water off my back. I just have to deal with that. And I push through that. But my idea of winning is simply to, let's go back to the subject. You said X. That's X isn't true. Support your claim for X, and gradually, showing that their position is without merit, is what I call winning, and as soon as they go into the dirt and start using sexual epithets with you or any kind of misgendering and stuff, I would count that as a win.
Yeah.
And that's the best solution I've been able to come up with that.
Yeah. So are you mostly talking about a content creator space, or are you talking about in person?
Yeah. I'm talking about content creator space. Yeah, I'm not talking in person. I don't have any troubles. Right.
Okay. Yeah. Which makes sense, right? Like the online is always going to be more abrasive and more aggressive. Okay. So here's my thoughts. Okay. I had a Twitch channel for several years. A year into my transition, before I was even had passing privilege, and I developed a community of people. Right. It wasn't right away when I was immediately jumping into the debate bro space, which I did do a little bit with the hippy dippy roundtable events that used to happen back in the day. It's been so long. And I used to have those conversations with people, and there was still rules of engagement of misgendering and all of that type of stuff. And Brenda, you're right. It's not fair that we have to have a tough skin. It's not fair that we have to be able to deal with the aggressive behavior, death threats, and all of the things that happen when we're in an online space. But the reason that they do it is because they know it bothers us, right? And the best way, for me, the way that I've been able to weather it is, you've seen me on this show, and you've seen Arden on this show. We've had incredible amounts of patience, right? Where I will be able to sit there, for me as well. I will be able to take people's points and then calmly just be able to speak back to them and just do it. But that's my style, right? That's my style. That's the style that I chose, and I'm consistent with it. Because then sometimes what they want is for you to get flustered, right? Like if somebody misgenders me, like if this was on the show, for example, right here on the show, somebody misgendered me, I'd be like, all right, bye, right? And then laugh at them, right? Because they're so petty and silly, right? I wouldn't even give them the breath of my anger, because they're not worth my anger. They did it because they want me to be angry and upset, where I'm just like, wow, okay, bye. And, and then laugh, right? And then move on with my life. And that's the best way to do it. And it's going to take practice, Brenda. This isn't an overnight situation, right? This isn't a situation where you're just like, oh, I'm just going to be calm, or I will be the calm one, and I'm just going to have to do it. It's going to take practice. It's going to take practice to be able to take these remarks and everything and just laugh it off and be like, whatever. And if you're able to do that and just hang up on them, it's worth it, because that's the reason they're doing it. They're going to gold you, right? And eventually what you do is, in these content creation spaces, you set a rules for engagement. You're not going to misgender me. The second you do, this conversation is over and I win. Like if you use transphobic slurs, I'm going to laugh at you, and then you're going to be and you're going to get knocked off this channel, and you're going to lose. If you want to have a conversation with ideas, then be the one willing to do that. But the second you color outside the lines, you're gone, and I'm going to laugh at you and you lose, right? Because that's the value of being the content creator. That's the value of being the host, where you don't have to dig in the dirt with them. You can immediately be like, whatever, and then be the strong person that you are and just continue to move on. And the people that will engage with you are the ones that are going to want to play those rules so they can get their jabs in. At first, it's going to suck. And then once you start building that community, you'll get moderators, right? I got moderators. There's amazing moderators in this chat right now that are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So we don't even have to be flustered by it. I never see anything in this chat that's super below the line or past the line before it's removed almost immediately. Right. Mm-hmm. So it gives me the ability to focus and do the conversation with the person and not have to deal with the riffraff that are coming in and out of the chat. It's going to take time. And also just know, in content creation, you're going to have an audience of 0 for a long time. And as you continue to do that work, you'll continue to grow that audience, and you'll be able to make that happen. But yeah, it's not fair that we have to do it that way. but that's the nature of being a trans content creator, femme in the space.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for your input.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brenda.
Absolutely.
Call back if you have any other thoughts, but we will talk to you
All right.
later.
Yeah. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Alrighty. Trucking right along. I'll just take everyone in the order that y'all came in now, because I don't think anyone looks like they're particularly like gender critical or anything like that. So we have Narissa in Louisiana, and almost said Los Angeles. Pronouns are she, her. It's a friend transitioning who's being difficult. Oh, interesting.
Oh, maybe this is a
Narissa.
little interesting.
Yeah, go for it. Tell us what's going on.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Actually, it's hi. Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you now.
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Great. Yeah, my question is going to show my age, and I'm just one of those people that, anyways, I don't even need to preface all that. I have a dear friend who has been in the process of transitioning for many years. And we had a falling out a few weeks ago over a dog. Like, just the most ridiculous thing. But we're neighbors, and he's refused to accept. This is how befuddled this has made me. My question is, when this person now approaches me in threatening ways with a foot of height on me, and I'm 5'2" and I weigh 95 pounds. This is a large, strong, young person. And I've always been so respectful of the preferred pronouns. I'm constantly apologizing for when I get it wrong. And my friend has always reassured me, as long as you are talking to me with love and respect, that all is forgiven. And that's always one of the things why we've been friends for so long. But, and I've always tried to be very respectful when they're having a particularly, more feminine week. Like, I can tell the style of dress changes or whatever, and I'm always like, I will open the door, I will have ladylike manners, although I don't even know what that is anymore. But now when I come across but see him, he throws this testosterone male aggressiveness at me. I mean, I think all women, at least of my age, at some point have had men use their size and girth and whatever as a form of not that they're going to hit you, but that they could if they wanted to. I never ever got those vibes from this person before, but I'm getting it now. And am I wrong to say, listen, why should I be respectful of your pronouns when you're using your masculinity to threaten me? I guess I could have asked that in one sentence. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I would say, is it wrong to misgender someone when they're doing something bad? I would say yes. Now, does that mean that they didn't do anything wrong, or that, you shouldn't have approached them or addressed the issue? No, of course not. Like, trans people can do bad things. Trans people can be bad people. Trans people can be aggressive just the way anyone can. I don't love the notion of weaponizing like a dehumanizing tool. Even if this person, doesn't deserve sympathy, even if this person as an individual doesn't deserve empathy, I think it is just an extremely poor like just conduct. Like I don't know, you know, if someone from other marginalized groups are being a bad person, I don't suddenly get to like use slurs because they're being a bad person. Like that's just not how that works at all. At least not to me.
I'm sorry, it's not necessarily that I want the okay to misgender. Is it appropriate to bring it up with them and say, I've never felt physically threatened by you, but now that you're angry at me, I'm feeling like I've got a dude who lives near me who I'm now scared of physically.
So Narissa, this is what I would say on this, right? You wouldn't tell another woman, are you PMSing right now? Because you're a little grumpy, right? You wouldn't do that, right? Because you're using a physical characteristic of somebody else and trying to say that is what is controlling their emotional state. Some people, and especially trans people, we don't want to hear that our hormones are changing who we are outside of the things that we already know are changing, and that's our personal thing to call out. I will say this, however. I will say this is that there seems to be a rift between you and the friendship of this human person and that you're connecting with, and it happens, right? Like I know trans people. I do not have the same relationship with a lot of the friends that I had pre-transition that were particularly male friends that I have with them now. Like it's almost like I don't have that brotherhood or that brotherly love that I used to have with those folks, right? Because now I'm like, I'm a girl now. It's very different. Our relationship's very different. And the same goes for like some of the women that I knew pre-transition that I am now, I feel much closer with because I feel like, oh yeah, we can go and have brunch and, you know, have spill tea and all that type of stuff and have those little gossip circles and things that we used to do as well. Sometimes people change, and especially when they're being able to go through their gender transition. And a lot of times, sometimes too, is there's a lot of stigma inside of that trans person where they're like, I'm a man and I'm going to act like a man. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to get strong. I'm going to get buff. I'm going to use derogatory language. I'm going to be rough and tough. Right. And then it's also on the other direction where like women that are transitioning are like, oh, I'm going to be super femme. I'm going to wear dresses all the time. I'm going to make my nails. I'm going to do all that type of stuff. And then they kind of go all the way on the spectrums, and they can be completely shitty to friends and family because they're trying to perform, right? And they're trying to say, this is who I am now. But I will say this, I would not use the fact that they're transitioning. I would not use the fact that you have testosterone or the phrasing, you are different now than I used to know you. You can just be like, I don't like the way that you're talking to me right now. I don't appreciate that you're you know, being aggressive with me right now. You don't have to bring the transition into it, right? Because it's not the transition. It's just the person. And
Right.
that is very valid and fair to be able to do that, right?
That is the wisdom of the ages. Thank you. There was a couple callers ago, somebody had something where you said something and they went, okay, I'm good. I understand it all now. Yeah, you're really good at that. Yeah, if I had a female at birth friend who was bigger and being aggressive, I wouldn't bring her gender into the conversation. I would be bringing in her sudden unusual aggression.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm sorry people my age have these questions. It's not for lack of wanting to be supportive and respectful. It's just our brains are getting old, and I have so much trouble with pronouns, and it's not intentional. I just to put that out there, I'm not the only old cis person who has trouble with that, and it's genuinely not because of lack of understanding or lack of wanting to show respect. It's just age.
I understand. I will say,
anyway.
Narissa, there might be an added layer of, you know, well, I don't think you're necessarily doing it maliciously. Like, you did misgender this person a handful of times on this call alone. And I think that kind of thing could also probably be putting them at, a bit of a defense. So it sounds like there's just a lot of miscommunication and a lot of misunderstanding. I'm glad we got to the heart of, weaponizing gender against trans people is like not okay to do. And I appreciate that you came to understand that. So, yeah.
Address the behavior
Absolutely.
simply in and of itself related or connected to any other aspect of this person. Thank you. I appreciate that very, very much.
Yep. Thanks, Narissa.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Narissa.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye. So to kind of just put a point on this as well is I have a friend who is not as close as she used to be because she literally said to me once, and it's still so hard to get past it. She literally said to me, it was like, can I tell you something right now? I'm like, yeah, sure. What's up? And she's like, I feel like you're mansplaining me right now. And I'm like, what? And it broke me, and it kind of shattered that relationship and that trust I had with that person, because they were like literally trying to say that because I was brought up like with as presenting cis male for so long, that I was bringing that attitude into the conversation, which was so fucked up. She could have just said something different, but she chose that frame of terminology that triggered me so badly, and I still to this day am not good friends with her.
Yeah, I think it's just, I had an ex also at one point weaponize that in that sort of way, and it's just like a garbage thing to do, when it comes to like transness. I saw someone in the chat be like, oh, how is it dehumanizing? You're still a human, even if they refer to you as the wrong gender. And it's like, yeah, but you're denying me who I am. You're denying me my sense of autonomy. You're denying me, like, just because you're mad at me. Like, you don't do that to other people in the same way. But yeah, it's very frustrating. And
especially if you're a friend, somebody that you think is close to you, and they're using that in that way, it can be incredibly harmful. And it has nothing to do with like a stranger's different from a friend, right? Somebody that you have close to your circle is like a stranger. Yeah, whatever. You're a loser. I don't even want to know you. It doesn't matter. Right. But like, if it's a friend, that's when it's just like, oof, that dagger hurts. It's like, you're close to me. I had trust. You were safe. Now you're not safe. And, and it's this extra level of sting.
Definitely. So we do have more callers on the line. I have to run to the bathroom, so I might pull in out of order just because this topic looks like it wouldn't be a big deal for solo. Okay. Thomas from Georgia, pronouns are he, him, would like to talk about the etiquette of names and transition timelines. So Thomas, you are live with Josie, and I will be back in just a moment.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Thomas.
How are you doing?
Hey, thanks.
I would love to.
I'm living the dream. Can't you tell?
Go ahead. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you having a good time? Yeah, let's go. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, we might have a delay, so if I cut you off or vice versa, I apologize. But anyway,
so a friend of mine.
So a friend of mine is a trans woman, and I knew her in high school when she still presented outwardly as a man, then through college, and in a few years after college, before she moved away and started a brand new chapter of her life. And I watched that transition process happen. And, there was a period when I knew her before she even knew that she was trans. She went through that period, as she explained to me, she became hypermasculine. I'm going to put on all this muscle. I'm going to wear a big bushy beard. I'm going to put on all this flannel, all these stereotypically masculine traits. And I still referred to her by her old name, the dead name at that time. There were times also where, while she was transitioning, she might come to a small Friendsgiving with maybe 8 people, full face of makeup, dress, and then I'd see her out and about, masculine dress, use the masculine name. There's a bit of I guess you call it code switching. But what really gets me, or my question, would be more so, because I knew her before and after the change and the change as was happening, if I'm happened once. It's happened, made me think about it. If I'm recounting a story, I think I know the answer. That person was always that person, whether they do it or not. So use the proper name. Don't dead name them. That seems sensible. The only, I guess, confusion or point of clarification I would like to hear would be, because I knew my friend before and after and during the transition, would it be appropriate to, let's say, freshman year of college, when she still was living and presenting as this masculine way, would I say, let's say the name was Adam and Eve. That's not true, but let's say it is.
Sure.
Would it be appropriate to say, oh yeah, Adam did this really cool thing freshman year? My gut instinct is to say no, because I know now that Adam is Eve, and to say Adam is like not acknowledging her experience, and I would pick up the phone and call her, but she did a total hard life reboot a couple years ago, like doesn't talk to her parents, doesn't talk to anyone, moved across the country. And I would ask her directly, and I'm sure she'd be entertain that question. She's a very open, honest person, but she just did a total like, nope, it's all done. That person is completely gone and buried now. I am Eve full time.
Yep.
Anyway, so yeah, I guess I'm giving you a lot of fluff, but just would it be appropriate to say, hey, freshman year, we have this crazy party, and Adam did this really cool, crazy thing, but it's probably more accurate for me to say, oh, Eve did this crazy, cool thing.
Yep. That's correct. The best way that I say it, and I say it to my parents, but they still don't get it sometimes, it's always referred to the person at past, present, and future as the person that they are and have told you they are. You would even use the she pronoun. So it's like, it's interesting because, I talk about my Navy life and I was completely presenting cis male at the time, but I still use she, her pronouns when I'm talking about my naval career, right? Like the people who talk about my naval career that I actually served with that know me now as Josie, they still say she. When she was in, reactor operations, she was doing all these wild things, whatever, right? Like we prefer it because it's kind of interesting, and I'll say this personally for me, it's like it's almost like your memories kind of like in your as at least it happened for me as a trans person. Like early in my transition, I had this like point of view of like, oh yeah, I used to be this different person in my memories, but over time, I see myself even in my memories as I am now. Right, like even when I say, yeah, I was a little girl, right? Like even and I say that because in my own memory, I do see myself as that little girl because that's who I've always been, and my memories have almost melded into that person. Even if I look at a photo in the past, I'm like, wow, that's wild. I don't really see myself like that anymore. But that's kind of how we see it. So that's why it can be kind of abrupt when you use somebody's dead name or their former, gender before they were presenting as the person that they are, in who they are now. It's very abrupt because it's like, ooh, wait, oh God, yeah, I guess I was that person back in the past, but I don't like to be reminded of it. Right, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, Josie, she served in the Navy like years, like nearly over a decade ago. And for me, that works for me because that's the most fluid part of my brain. And if somebody were to say it the other way around, it now kind of jars me back into like, oh yeah, I did present male. I didn't want to remember that, but sure, right? That's why we just prefer past, present, and future as the way that you do it, unless in the very rare occasions some trans women prefer you do it that, but you have to be explicitly told that. Like a trans person is like, I'm friends with you, I know you, go ahead when you're referring me to the past, use these things because I prefer it. That's the only time you would do it that way.
I think the only time I've heard someone ask that specifically too, hi, by the way, Thomas, I'm back, has been when a trans woman had children before she transitioned, and then she transitioned. I've heard multiple trans women in that position tell their kids, like, if you want to refer to that memory with me as your dad, that's fair. But even then, I know plenty of trans women in that position who would absolutely say, no, please don't do that. Please use the standard procedure of past, present, and future for sure.
Okay, that actually puts a lot of things in context. Yeah, and so you were ex-Navy, you said, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so something,
Yeah.
thank you for answering. I just want to make one small comment. One thing I find funny in the whole trans debate, which isn't a debate, is that, I'm ex-firefighter, you're ex-military. Not the same, but there are ranks. And I'm sure you and I both know if you disrespected
absolutely.
an officer by calling them the wrong rank, like if my lieutenant became a captain,
Yeah.
if I kept calling my captain a lieutenant, and as a horrible sign of disrespect, and I would be ordered to run 10 laps around the station. So this idea that I find a lot of, it's too confusing, it's too hard. We have that rubric already in place with the military, with someone getting a PhD becoming a doctor, with someone who gets married and takes their spouse's name, like Miss Adams or Mr. Johnson. This is not a question. I'm sorry, I'm opining. I just find it frustrating and irritating when people say, like, it's too confusing to refer to Adam as Eve or he or she. You do it when they get married. You do it when they get promoted. You do it when they get their doctorate. So just grow up and be a person. But anyway, thanks for your time, guys.
Yep, grow up and be a person. That's
Enjoy
right.
the rest of your Sunday. Not Sunday. No, today's not
Thursday.
Sunday. I'm wrong.
Thursday.
I'm going to go and be
Thanks,
somewhere else
Thursday.
now. Thanks for your time so
Okay.
much. I got to go.
Woo!
Thank you so much
All right,
again.
yeah.
Love what you do. Bye.
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 Yeah, that wild swing at the day of the week was a complete miss. It's not anywhere near Sunday.
I would be in Chicago.
Maybe it's because it's a lion show and they kind of associate us with like the Sunday show a lot. I don't know.
Yeah,
all right, we have
fair.
2 callers left on the line, and those will be the last callers for the day. Then we will get on to our super chats. So first up, we've got Luna in Pennsylvania. Pronouns are she, her. Wants to talk about the right weaponizing detransitioners. So, I thought I hit the button. Come on. There we go. Luna, you are live on the line. What's going on?
Hello, Josie. Hello, Arden.
Hi.
I just was. Hello. I just feel like a lot of people. I find in the trans community, a lot of people stay away from detransitioning, like topics in general. So I wanted to use this opportunity to put it on a platform and have this conversation. I think it's absolutely valid, and if you detransition and if you have hardships from it, that's horrible. But to weaponize it and go through a right-wing like circus to get some sort of fame or attack the community that was so accepting to you, even though you made the wrong decision. I think that is like a really big issue. And it's really funny because a lot of the times when I see these documentaries or these interviews with detransitioners, they use arguments like how dysphoric their body is to them now, like how much dysphoria they have now. And it's like, that's what trans people feel before they transition. So it's kind of like proving transness, even like being trans even more, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot on this show about detransition, mostly because I actually have experience with that. I detransitioned and retransitioned, so it is very poignant to me, and I always make a point to say that, like, detransition is real, and detransitioned people deserve resources to navigate to a body and a life that is going to be the most comfortable for them. Also, I'm going to put a little noise gate. I've got like a... Wow.
Is it a fan? It's really hot in here.
I think it's the fan. Every time it turns on to you, it sounds like a wah, like I'm like one of those sounds of the trailer to a movie.
Is it better now?
Yes, much better.
Yes, much better.
Thank you.
Sorry that you're smoldering.
It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's messed up, and oh man, no, it's back. I'm actually gonna just mute you for a second while I talk about this, and then we'll bring you back. My bad. So yeah, I think the right has been, like, we've talked just a few weeks ago about how the right flies Chloe Cole around to testify at different events and give the same misinformation to like legislators in different states, and that's fucked up. And I think we have the right to talk about that and to like try to dispel a lot of that misinformation. And there's a tendency from some trans people, although I think it's not as much the case anymore because we have better information on this now, that was to like just pretend detransition didn't happen. And the fact is it does happen. But the majority of people who detransition don't do it because it wasn't right for them. They do it because of external factors that made transition hard. And when they get the opportunity and they go through the healing, they transition and they ultimately end up being trans. And a lot of people who detransition and don't retransition medically in the future also wouldn't consider themselves like cis and straight. So like the right has selectively looked for a pool of detransitioners who I currently, would consider themselves largely cisgender and harbor resentment for the experiences that they went through. They're not actually representing the bulk of detransitioners' experiences in a fair and honest way. And I think that's really the concern when we're dealing with these. But yeah, so sorry, you're off mute now if you want to give thoughts, and then we'll have Josie jump in.
Yeah, I'm one of those. Because of COVID, I lost everything, including my medical insurance, which means I couldn't afford transitioning. So I detransitioned in 2019. So I'm starting transition again. I'm half a year in. But, most of the time, you're absolutely right. It's not even that it wasn't the right choice. It was external factors, maybe family, maybe economic. And I just don't know how, because I get people in my life showing me these sob stories about detransitioners, and they're like, I don't want this to be you. And I just don't know how I can express to them that I'm happy, I was a very miserable kid, and I was very quiet and shy to myself. And I'm more happy now than I ever have been. And the first time I transitioned, I was more happy than I ever have been. And I just don't understand, how you can just ignore all the data and listen to one person's story and think all of this science and biology and everything is wrong,
Yeah.
And I'll say this too. It's like the people who are looking for the Chloe Cole's statement of I got my breast cut off at 16 years old and that was the first thing that they did and da 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 da. It's like, if that's the story that they're choosing rather than hearing your story, I'm happier than I've ever been, or the hundreds of millions of stories of trans people across the country and world that are saying they're happier than they've ever been. The fact that we have data that supports 92,000 plus respondents in the U.S. trans survey who are trans and binary and non-binary say that their life, the way, without even medical transition, 97%. They say that they're more or less more satisfied or a little more satisfied with life. The fact that people who are on hormonal care, 99% of them say that they are more or a little more satisfied with life, and even with surgical care, it's at 90% as well, 99% as well. So the fact of the matter is, they're cherry picking. They're saying that this 1% of people are the people that should be dictating who should be able to say who has health care or not. And it is the dehumanization of trans people to be able to choose, and they'd rather choose these detransitioners who are now cis, because the nightmare in their mind, and I'll say this right now, Luna, this is why that the Republicans like this narrative so much, is that there are a lot of cis people around the world and country especially that would think of getting a gender affirming surgery as the worst thing that could possibly ever happen to their lives. And they put themselves in their shoes of oh my gosh, what if I was that person that got their breast cut off or what if I was that person that got a bottom surgery when I don't actually want it? And they're placating the people's fears of the possibility that would never happen to them in a million years. So they're trying to play this fear up of oh my gosh, I just want to protect cis people because that would be the horror story if I had to go through and be trans for a little bit. And that's why they're trying to abide by these folks, and that's why these detransitioners are able to get so much money. Chloe Cole makes about $300,000 a year doing her grand tour of the United States, just doing their own things, right? And so that is why they do it, because there's a lot of people who want to be this could happen to you or your cis kid So might as well stop it from happening at all so it can't happen, right? And instead of looking at the humanity of trans people, of what it's like you said at the beginning of this call, of having a body that isn't congruent with the way you want to be, but we care about Chloe Cole's story more than the person that actually has to suffer this way at a 99% more likely case. So that's really what it is. They're placating to the fears of cis people, thinking like, oh my god, what if I was a trans person when I didn't want to be? And that's not actually what's happening.
Yeah, you're off mute now, Luna, if you want to respond to that.
Yeah, it just seems like I don't know if like there's a cognitive dissonance within the majority of the population, but whenever I hear someone talk about how comfortable they are with their body because they transition, to me it's like, well, that's the same line that trans people are saying before they transition. You know, I just don't understand what kind of person you can be to admit that you rushed through something, admit that you cut corners through something, that you decide to do it all as an adult, and then go and demonize the entire community you were affiliated with because it wasn't right for you, you know?
Yeah.
I just don't understand the money.
It's money. It's money, Luna. It is, because there was an ex-gay movement too, right? Before there was this detransitioner movement, there was an ex-gay movement where they would literally have conversion therapy camps because these ex-gays would make so much money from parents that were paying the bills for these camps and from like religious institutions sponsoring them to like just right-wing organizations saying this is what we got to do to spend their money, and that's what they do. Do you think Milo Yiannopoulos, like, is it still a gay man? Is like he's out there being an ex-gay, scooping up all the money from the religious bigots out there, trying to say, "Oh yeah, I'm ex-gay, give me that money," right? And that's what he does, right? And that's exactly what Chloe Cole's doing. I would even say people like Riley Gaines, who uses her loss against one trans person in a race somewhere, uses her money to build a media empire where she makes nearly $200,000 a year just going around and being bigoted. It's all about the money, because if they didn't have money or resources to do it, they wouldn't be doing it right now. You wouldn't even know who Chloe Cole was. You wouldn't even know who Riley Gaines was. You wouldn't even know who Milo Yiannopoulos was, or he would be doing some other batshit crazy thing that would get him clicks. But at the end of the day, it's like these people only exist because there's a profit incentive for them, and that's why there's only like a dozen of them across the country. And that's what my theory is, anyway.
Yeah. Luna, do you have any thoughts? I want to give you a chance to respond, and then we'll probably let you go. I would have more conversation about this because this issue is very near and dear to me personally, but I'm sorry, the fan is driving me crazy, so.
I'm not. The fan's not even on. I'm sitting here in silence.
Interesting.
I have no idea.
Oh, weird.
Might be my headset, I guess. I have no idea.
It could
be. Maybe it's your headset. It's okay.
Lefty mic issues, I guess.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just wanted to say, shout out to the dad earlier, because all basic respect and care. You know, shout out to that dad earlier. And thank you for both like sticking up for the community and putting yourself out there, because you're the people in the community that like speak out, have a platform. They're the targets. They're the main targets. And I know you both get so much hate and so much crap, and you don't deserve it. And I am grateful that you do it for all of us. So thank you.
Aww,
thanks, Luna. That's very sweet.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Hopefully we'll get your audio issues worked out. Maybe you can call back about this in the future.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, Luna.
Bye, Luna.
Alrighty. There is one caller left for the day, and then we are going to move on to our supers. So, this person is listed as com/compa, and pronouns are any, from Ohio. Has a question about engaging with their mom on trans stuff, I think. So, you are live, Compa. What's going on?
Hi. Sorry, I was just really nervous.
It's all right.
Can you hear me
Yeah,
well?
no worries.
Yep, you're coming through.
So I guess overall, there's been like a huge disconnect between me and my folks because of trans stuff, and at this point, I don't know really what's going on, what to think, and I'm at a point where I know that a lot of the stuff my folks are trying to tell me is just kind of outlandish, I guess.
Mm.
But I'm also just in a situation where I have to keep dealing with it if I want to go to college and whatnot. And I guess, I don't know, it's been hard to find support. And at this point, it's almost like I'm going crazy because I don't even know if like maybe I was just losing it or something, but I don't know. I haven't felt that happy with my own self-image, and trying to explain it to my folks, it's a back and forth of maybe if I gave myself to God and the whole idea of, well, there's no way of knowing you would be happier as a girl because you can't explain to me why you're not happy as a guy. And I don't know how to word that outside of it.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely, first off, thank you for calling. This is incredibly difficult, and it is, and I just want to acknowledge you for who you are as a person. And, calling into a safe space where a lot of people in this chat right now experience the same thing or have experienced it in the past. And just know that you are not alone. You are not alone. There's a community of people who understand what you're going through, sympathize with what you're going through, and are on your side and are rooting for you. So I just wanted to say that because I know it can feel incredibly isolating and it can be incredibly difficult and may seem like you are just all alone in this. Well, you're not. There's an entire community of people who are cheering you on every day to be able to be who you know you are. So that's the thing I want to say first. And in regards to your family, I grew up in a home that was very conservative, very religious, and I'm sharing this because it's really hard to think about, but they were so in their ways that it took me 34 years before I was able to say, "Hi, I'm Josie. I'm the girl that I am." And it is incredibly hard, and I don't want anybody to suffer through that type of situation. And so what I will say to you is that your safety, your housing security, and all of those things come first, right? You want to make sure that you have a roof over your head. You want to make sure that you have, the ability to survive in the space that you are currently, right? And there may be a point, and I'll say this: there may be a point that your parents won't get it, right? They just won't, right? And that's one of the sad things about this is I no longer have contact with my biological father. Some trans people have incredible stories where they have family support, and some trans people have no contact with their family whatsoever as well. But what's most important is for you to be able to be in a place of stability where you can actually say, I'm who I am, and you're either going to accept me or you're not. And that's the choice that they can make, right? Because that's their choice. They're making that choice, not you, right? And it's not going to take a magic argument. There's nothing that I or Arden can tell you or anybody can tell you that will change their minds if they're set in their ways and in their beliefs, right? I wish there was a string of sentences I could say that would be like, just tell them this and they'll be all right, right? Sometimes it just doesn't happen that way. And so my recommendation to you is to find community if you can, right? Other queer people, other trans people that are in your area that you can communicate with, that you know that you can be your friends, preferably in your age range, that will be able to sympathize with you and accept you for who you are. And then when you go home, you live under the rules that that family has set for you. And then when you go to college, go and join the queer communities and see how those college friends deal with these situations. Because I just want to reiterate, you're not alone. So many people are dealing with this every day. And that's why, me and Arden have these conversations in public, because it's incredibly important to know that people all over the country are suffering with this. And I just feel for you, and I really do hope that these words can help. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I want to add, or no, go ahead. Sorry, if you have thoughts, I want you to respond.
It always feels conflicting because I don't even know where I stand on my own family anymore, and it like there are times where I just kind of feel horrible for that, but there's also times where I'm trying to go through what they've said to me, what they've done to me, and it's like, do I really want to keep trying to fix it? Because I've been trying to go over in my head, and it's like, I'm here for college, and what I thought was trying to fix the relationship between me and my mother. But when I came back, we can't talk. It just doesn't seem to work. It gets to it got to a point where she said if she doesn't have a son, she doesn't have a child, and I think that just kind of broke me.
Yeah.
I don't know at that point, because she raised me to be the person that was gonna improve from the crap that our family did. I'm the first one in my whole family to go to college. I'm one of the only people in my family with a high school diploma. I was supposed to learn, and it feels like everyone around me wants to stay back. And when I try to impart anything or help them grow, it's like it doesn't matter, and then I end up wondering, what did I do it for?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Well, I want to tell you, there is so much love in the chat for you. I think a lot of something we have said on this show a lot is that the one experience that every trans person can relate to is feeling like, I'm not trans enough. Like, my experience isn't the right one to justify going through all this hardship and potentially risking my relationships with your family. So, like, obviously, I'm not trying to tell you you're trans or whatever. It seems like you still want to work that out, and that's for you. But obviously prioritize your safety. That's important, making sure you're able to fund your life or whatever is going on. But I also think it's really important to not deny yourself, like a full and authentic life of who you are for your parents. Because a big reason that I detransitioned was because of the rejection I experienced from my dad. I really just wanted my dad to love me. And it is still not perfect. I mean, now he and I can talk, but we can't talk about gender or who I am or anything meaningful in my life, because it's the same situation where I get invalidated and then we argue and it's painful. And you are like genetically predisposed to value your mom's opinion of you more than anything, but it's so important for you to know. Now I'm getting emotional. That, like, she's just a person. And I'm really sorry that you aren't getting the support and the love that you deserve, the validation that you deserve. But, you know, who she is and how she thinks of you and how she thinks of your gender and your identity, that doesn't define you. You get to do all of that. That is all in your power. And I really hope, I'm not sure I'm super clear on how old you are or what your situation is financially. If you have access to therapy, I really, really, really recommend you talk to a therapist, because I think you need more support. Nobody going through what you're going through should be doing that alone. You should be doing that with the help of someone. But there's so much love for you in chat and from us. I'm really sorry you're in that position. That's incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and Calm, I'm just one person, right? And this community is here, and they're like, if this was a hug that you could feel, I think you'd feel like you were in a million hands right now, because people really are here for you. I want to share my story really quick with you, and I'm gonna get emotional because I feel your pain, because I've gone through it myself, like with my biological father saying he has a dead kid, right? Like that's very real. That's very, very real, and I'm gonna break. But I'm gonna tell you something, okay? This may relate to your specific situation of where I come from. My family, got me. My family, I was the firstborn, like, son, right? I was the third, right? My grandfather and my father were very very proud, right? They're like, you're gonna have a kid and it's gonna be the fourth, and like they had all these like expectations. I am the family member outside of my sister who finally got her nursing degree, but like I'm the only family member who lives in a major city in my family of, like, you know, several 36 cousins. I think there's only one other cousin that lives in a major city. And then I'm doing all of this stuff, and I had this mantle. I had to like feel like I had to like carry the family name in a way that was like unfair to who I was as the person that I am. But I will tell you right now, me being Josie is so much more powerful than the person I was before, right? I was able to be more confident. I was able to hold myself in a way that makes people understand where I come from, and it gives me a level of authenticity that other people that I was never able to have, that people can see to me now. They see who I am as a person. I am more successful to the point where members of my family right now are bragging about what I do for a living and how much money I make and all of this stuff, because those are the markers that for some reason my family cares about, and it was able to supersede everything, because you are a big person and what you do in your life is who you are, and your parents have no say in that. You are who you are. You are who you are. Nobody else can tell you who you are. And that's why, you know, I have found family. I have family, like, they're my friends, but they're my family. I will die for my friends. And you know, family, it's just they're there, right? I love my family, but it took them a long time to come around to understand of who I am. And there is a third of my family who never want to know, and that's their fucking loss. So you really touched everybody here. You really did, because we all have been where you are, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is. You're not alone.
Okay.
It's just so weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
it's hard.
it was fine here, and then I come. What killed me was that I came out to her and she was fine with it. She seemed to be on board, and she even agreed to help me if I did good in college. And then the next day, we went to an award, and the teacher, they gave me an award with my dead name on it, and I didn't even know he was going to do that. And she was embarrassed when I went to go get it, and they called Jolene up instead of Jonathan. And she got so
angry with me that she hit me. And
My
I haven't
God.
been hit by my
So
mother
sorry.
in years. And it was at the point where I was like, I was 18. It was like, I can't let this go back to this. So I pushed
Right.
her off me and she threw me out for a month. And
Yeah.
I go to stay with my friend and like my whole perspective got shifted upside down because I didn't know that's how people had it.
Yeah.
I grew up being scared of just about everything because I come back and she's trying to undo everything I learned there. She's trying to defend my dad. She's banning me from hanging out with all of my friends because I was obligated to tell her that they're queer or something. And now it just feels like my whole world just got flipped upside down. I grew up almost entirely in her image, and now that I'm realizing it's just making me up happy, it's like I don't even know what to do with myself or who I am.
Yeah.
Well,
I suggest that you reach out to your local LGBTQ center. I don't know if you're in a city that has one of those, a Pride Center or some organization, to make sure that they know your situation so they can be a helping hand. Because you don't have to go through this alone, right? You don't have to go through this alone. And, the best thing to do is find community because community is there for you, and maybe it's time to just take some time away, right? Just take some time away and be around people that want to see who you are and just be able to just be in a place of safety, right? I want you to be in a place of safety. That's my biggest concern out of all of this. And a local LGBTQ center can possibly help you find that safety.
yeah, I think it's also important to say, Calm, that, if you need to take time away from your mom, like Josie's talking about, while you find people who are going to love you and build you up and, make you feel safe to be whoever it is that you end up feeling like represents you, it doesn't mean that has to be the end of the relationship. If that becomes the end from your mom, that is that's her doing that. That is not necessarily you. You needing space to heal is absolutely acceptable. And it sounds like, it sounds like you're over 18. So I definitely would recommend whatever you can do. A lot of therapists will have sliding scales if you are in a difficult financial situations where they can be more accommodating. I would really, really
And
recommend.
A lot of centers do it for free.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of LGBTQ centers, they are there to be able to support you. Right. And they give you those services for free, support groups, other friends, possibly even room and board in some cases. So it's really important at this moment for you to find what resources are available to you so you can have that peace of mind.
Yeah. I know Armad Calasia just put in the chat a link to the Trevor Project hotline. So if that's something you feel like you need, definitely take advantage of that resource. It's totally free, just a hotline to call if you're feeling, like really dark about things. Like that's a place you can go and helps you, stay afloat for a little while longer.
I've used a line like that before. I have used a line like that before. It's very important if you need it.
I want to say just the last thing here, Calm, and then we'll let you hop in. We're probably going to have to wrap up this call because you're dealing with something that is so much bigger than what we can give advice for. I just want you to know that everyone in chat is sending hug emojis and hearts. We all have, so many of us have been exactly where you are, and we feel your pain. And I promise you there is another side to that life can get better and you can find people who will love you and build you up. And you deserve that. You don't deserve to be feeling like you're feeling. And I'm really sorry that that's where you are. All right. Well, if there's any thoughts, I want you to be able to cap off. But otherwise, we're going to let you go. Please make use of any resources that you feel like you need to be safe. I don't want to just leave you hanging out there to dry after having a lot of big feelings, because that can sometimes be even harder than letting all those feelings go.
Yeah. If you have access to a friend, call them.
Thank you.
Okay. Best of luck, Calm. Call us back if you need anything.
Call us back.
We appreciate the call. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Man, I was not expecting to cry like that today. It just...
It's just so real.
It just hits that spot that I think so many of us have dealt with, the loss of a parent, you know, and not like a parent dying, that's hard, but a parent who could choose to be there for you and isn't. And that is just such a painful thing. Like, I feel like such a healed person. I genuinely, like, I am living a life now where I am not weighed down by that. But, like, it still sucks to me whenever I go home to visit family and being like, man, I really wish you could just, like, actually be here present with me and not this sort of, like, fake performative whatever it takes to get us by without arguing sort of mentality.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, so...
It's tough, and, you know, it's like, it really is it's really poignant to why we do this show, is because when we do this, we have these conversations so people have access to talk to trans people, even if they just want to be able to be like, I am here. And that is so incredibly important, to be able to be here for everybody that is having these hard times. And you know, I'll use myself as an example. I have girl boss euphoria now. Right? Like, I learned that on one of these calls before. I think it was 2 weeks ago. I had a conversation and somebody said, since you've been transitioned for a while now, what gives you euphoria? And I had to think about that for a minute. And you know, what it is girl boss euphoria. Every time I'm out there kicking ass as Josie, the woman that I am, like, I'm like, yeah, because there were so many people in my life that said this wasn't possible. So that euphoria is so prime. It's like the nectar of the gods if they existed. You know, it's just like, it's like one of those things where you can find those you can revel in that journey, and just know that we're all at different points of our journey. We're all at different points of our journey. There are some people that we have called that said, oh my gosh, maybe I'm trans. To people who are calm as now, to people who have lived an entire full life, decades as trans. And we're all at different points of our careers, all different points in our life. And that's the beauty of our community, is no matter where we are there to give each other the love and admiration that they need at that time. So yeah. Thank you, chat, for being there for us, because it was hard for us too.
And thank you for everyone being so, like, sending so much love and positive thoughts towards Calm. I mean, I almost feel like we need to have a bit more of a standardized procedure, because I don't know if it's okay to just hang up the phone after somebody has something like that. Like, I want to be able to equip people who are calling in with, like, actual tools or information, so they're not just, like, you know, doing such an emotional dump and then having to be kind of on their own about it.
What I normally do when I have these conversations, because I had a young woman call me last week, just through my work number, just like dialed the work number and just hit a number hoping to get somebody. And it was me. And it was like, you know, this trans, and she was like, I just want to talk to somebody else who's trans. And luckily I was like, well, I'm trans. How are you? And, like, you know, and they just needed to talk. They just needed to know that there was somebody on the other line that was trans, that was doing something big in their lives. And it was, like, so interesting to do. And normally in that situation, what I do is I find out locally where they are. and then I make sure that they have resources. I give them phone numbers, websites, all of that type of stuff, because we are nationally syndicated, right? We're national. We have we're just so large that we can't help everybody. But what we try to do is try to get you to your local resources where there are other people around you that can actually be a warm body that's close by. And so that's what I try to always do, is like find your local LGBTQ center. If there isn't one close by, find one that is close by. Right. That's kind of, and make a phone call, because usually those local LGBTQ centers are able to help people who are in rural areas that are close by, to help them get resources in a pinch. So it's really, really important, because that's where people go, and that's what the LGBTQ centers are supposed to do. It's supposed to be that resource local in the community. So it's one of those things for sure.
And just on a Google research, since Calm was in Ohio, I see close to Cleveland, there's the LGBT Community Center of Greater Cleveland. There's the Greater Dayton LGBT Center, and there's the Bayard Ruston LGBTQ plus Resource Center if you're closer to Akron. So those are like 3 major metropolitan areas in Ohio, all of which have an LGBT center. So hopefully one of those is at least sort of close to you, if you need that sort of resource.
Yeah.
Wow. Man,
one of my dear friends lives in Ohio, and she actually works on Air Force One. She's like a complete badass scientist, like everything, like published all over the place. And, so there are trans people out in Ohio, right? They are out there, they exist, and they're thriving. So you're not alone. There are people everywhere.
I'm going to be thinking about Calm for the rest of the week, to be completely honest. Yeah. But we have super chats to get through, so we're going to move on and do that for now. You want to go first? Oh, I guess this one's addressed towards me.
Oh, go for it then.
Sorry, I didn't know until it popped up. $20 from William Mattis says, "Hey Arden, who do you have to win in a fight between End of Shippuden Rock Lee or DBS Universe Tournament Krillin? No ki or chakra attacks, only used for base enhancement. Hand-to-hand combat only." I haven't watched Dragon Ball Super, so I don't know. I mean, Krillin is notoriously the meme, right? He's so kind of lame.
I mean, he's still so strong, though. He made it into the tournament, though. Arguably, I don't know. As a human, he's top of his class.
I haven't watched Dragon Ball Super, so I don't know anything about it. I know Rock Lee. If Rock Lee is gonna be Guy Sensei at the end of Shippuden, when he unlocked the last gate and didn't even die, then obviously Rock Lee. But I'm more of a Naruto stan than I watched all of Dragon Ball Z and all the subsidiaries except for Super. So I haven't. Okay.
It's short. It's not that long. I thought I got into it. I did it a few months ago. But totally into Naruto. I love Rock Lee. His heart is strong, but his body is not. And just I love it. But yes.
People are saying Krillin wins no contest. Well, I guess I gotta get caught up to know if that actually makes sense.
Krillin beats Rock Lee. Yeah, I hate to say it, but yeah, Krillin can fucking fly. Rock Lee doesn't even have access to any of the oh my gosh, any of the magic that the freaking ninjas can do.
The ninjutsu. He's only got the fighting.
Ninjutsu, all ninjutsu, and then Krillin's got that and everything else. You can just solar flare him and he's done. Struck those discs to the chest, it's over. All right, I'm getting really dirty now.
All right. Now this one's for you.
All right. 5 pounds from Sean Usherwood. Update: yesterday marked 6 months since I heard a voice. I think I'm on a road to recovery from the schizophrenia. However, no news from the GIC. Well, congratulations. I love to see the recovery.
Yeah, that's great. Hopefully the side effects aren't too bad for you. I know some of the side effects of medicine for schizophrenia and schizoaffective disorder and things like that can have some rough side effects, because they'll use lower doses for mood stabilizers, which I've used before, and I hated the side effects. I felt like I was under a wet blanket for the entire day. Every time I took one, it was awful.
Yeah.
$5 from Larry Fishman. I'm 509 days, 16 months into HRT, 7 months post-Orky, and I got cramps for the first time on Tuesday, along with other period symptoms. Oh boy, we're getting into that conversation again.
Doing. I see what you're doing, Larry. Totally can relate to the symptoms of things for sure. But I'll leave it at that.
I won't dig in. I'll Unity.
Okay, you already conceded.
Telling myself
unity.
Anyway, so. Unity.
Yeah, you've already conceded to me anyway, so it's all right. It's all.
I conceded one thing. I don't know if I conceded the whole
argument. And that was
argument.
the crux. You conceded to my crux.
It was the crux that I conceded. I don't think that's
true. We'll just have to. I guess people are just gonna have to choose who to believe on that one.
This one's for you, I think, right?
$4.99 from Louise Richardson. My SRS anniversary is next month, September 19th, 1977. I don't remember the pain. I remember I slept a lot, but I could recall. Wish I could recall more, but it worked. Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, that is really sweet. That is so wild. I was thinking about this the other day, and the thing that was like the exciting thing to look forward to about getting the surgery soon is that there will be a point in my life where I can say I've had a vagina for longer than I had a penis in my life and be like, that's so cool. Like, what a neat thing that you could...
I hope I get to that ripe old age. Oh my God.
The ripe old age?
That's like 76 years old. No.
I'm hoping I can get it before I turn 30. We'll see.
Yeah. You youngins.
$5 from Larry Fishman. Again, before the end of the day, I decided that it was both affirming and really cool that my body knows how to do that. I'm told the euphoria wears off. I mean, I think euphoria, at least in my experience, maybe not everyone is the same, is kind of this is why I've always described it as like, people like Katy's description of it better than mine because it's more flowery, but I'm going to say mine. It's crude, but it's honest. It's like when you're trying to take a shit and you finally pinch that sucker off. It doesn't feel good, but the relief feels almost like feeling good, right? And I feel like euphoria is kind of the same, where you're like, it normalizes, but like it feels really good at first.
It normalizes, but then you can find new ways to be euphoric, like my girl boss euphoria. I love that shit. Like, it's so good. Like, that won't wear off. Hopefully, I mean, if girl boss euphoria wears off, then I am doing something awesome.
You're too good.
Too good. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Happy I can catch Takis at work. I wish I could enjoy Hope from Harris Walls after the last few years, though. Hope is just fear of disappointment. But good luck. What is that? What's LGF? What is that?
I'm not sure.
What is that?
Because LFG is like, let's fucking go.
My millennial, my elder millennial is showing. Like,
I don't know.
Just like, oh no.
Because there's Go Fuck Yourself, GFY, and there's Your Gay Homie, and they have Don't Apologize to Him, and we have, I don't know what LGF is. Clarify, Monkey. Monkey's a mod, so I'll see you if you put it in chat. $10 from Aliashana Silverbow. I can't watch live today. Here's a quick joke. Enjoy. I failed math so many times at school, I can't even count. I'll see myself out.
Nice. Oh yeah, still the best D&D name ever. 20 pounds from Jackie Greenland. Harry's question reminded me of who asked me what I class myself as, a trans woman married to a cis woman, and the answer I always give is I don't think that hard about it. I like who I like. That's good too. It's like, if you can just like get over like the straightness of it all, Like, and you just like release yourself of those chains. Like, it's interesting how like, oh, I just like people. It's cool. It's whatever.
Yeah.
But that's me as a bisexual saying that. So
I know. I feel like there's part of me that has the toxic bisexual pansexual thing where I'm like, is anybody really straight or really completely gay? Listen, I know are those people out there, but it's just I can't conceive of it. I'm like, why just the whole gender is a problem for you? That's so weird.
Yeah, I like to think about that about like different people. Like it's with JD Vance that there's definitely some definite gayness there, and then but like with Trump, you're just like, I don't know. I don't think he loves anything but himself. So is that gay?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
Oh wait, no, that makes him an auto-androphile.
Oh yes,
he's in love with himself.
Let's trend that on Twitter. Come on, Andrew Androphile Donald Trump, like LGBTQ. Let's go plus.
We have $9.99 from Balthazar 228. What is your policy on dead naming corporations? I struggle to call Twitter X, call Time Warner Spectrum, Comcast Xfinity, and Facebook Meta. Corporations aren't people, and they have no feelings, and so dead naming them is not actually a thing, in my opinion. I mean, there might be a point where it's been the new name for so long that you being resistant to calling it the new thing is just kind of more confusing than it is helpful. But I don't think there's anything wrong with calling Twitter X Twitter. It's not a human being with feelings who I'm offending.
My litmus on this is I will call Twitter X when Elon Musk genders his daughter correctly.
Right. True. Yeah, no, I would totally be down for that.
Yeah.
I don't know what that currency is, but that's for you.
Wow, $150, or not dollars, but it looks like a currency from a board game from Joel Dillage. Hello, do you agree with the sentence? Everything the trans people. Sorry, I'm laughing at my own joke. I'm so stupid. Okay, sorry. Everything from trans people as individuals, but nothing as a community. Or come on, community. Let me see.
I don't follow.
Oh, do you agree with everything to trans people as individuals, but nothing as a community? I don't know. Everything.
I don't want to be presumptuous, but this feels like maybe there's like a language barrier here because I'm not sure that. Barrier. Yeah, I mean, there's a currency that's not American, and I don't. The structure on this question doesn't really make sense to me. So if you want to try to @ Arden Hart in the chat, if you're still here, Joel, and try to clarify, I'll try to keep an eye out for you.
And if you could tell us what that monies is named, I would be very interested in that as well. Or we can just call it simoleons,
right?
Gamer currency, whatever makes sense.
Poké dollars. We have. Oh wait. Oh yeah. $5 from William Mattis. Chuck was attack helicopter guy. He was such an idiot. He had such a persecution complex. Oh, I've committed a thought crime. Fracking douche nugget. Yeah, I edited that whole clip and. It's so frustrating. He called one time, Takis, but right when we were about to get to him, he dropped. And so I just find it really frustrating that he has such big opinions on trans issues, but he's really afraid to call us. I have to wonder why. It couldn't be because he has no ability to defend his fucking positions, right? It must be that's why he brought this to the people who aren't specialists in trans stuff. I'm sure that he has great arguments, and I would look forward to hearing them.
Yeah. $5 from Jack TKB. Just saying thank you. Well, thank you.
Thanks. That's very nice. We have $20 here from Echo Sage. First off, you two are amazing. I started HRT this year and feel better, but at 39, I worry I started too late. Living in South Carolina, I do feel a need to pass to be myself here. So I've been looking into FFS recently. Any advice? Yeah, I mean, so first of all, hormones are magic. And if you only started this year, I urge you to be patient. They'll tell you 2 years you've noticed all effects. I call bullshit. For me, I feel like it was around year like 4 or 5 that I feel like I started to normalize at a place where I'm like, this is, I think, more of like, I've completed female puberty now and I'm on the other side. So definitely be patient with yourself before. I think there's a lot of doctors who require you for FFS. I don't know if I necessarily agree with this, but I think there's quite a few who will make you wait a year or 2 years on hormones before they'll even do surgery. Because fat is going to change on your face. So we're going to want to know more of like where fat is landing on your face after estrogen has done what it's supposed to do before they make changes. I think for me, when I got FFS, I specifically asked him to only do things that were like really related to testosterone puberty, which in hindsight, I kind of wish he had gave me a cute little Hollywood button nose. You know, if you're going to be in there, why don't you just fucking like go to town on it? But I will say, I think it's good for me to work on accepting myself in my face as it would have been without male puberty and not to like feel like I need to do surgery for aesthetic reasons. So I don't know. If maybe while you're in there, if you're feeling like you want to do something else, you know, don't be afraid to do it. But I don't know, Josie, what do you think?
Well, obviously, never too old. I was 34 when I started mine, and look at me now. And it's about
Gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. And also, I did get FFS, so I'm cheating a little bit. But for FFS, just try to find, if you have insurance coverage, try to find somebody that is coverage, because FFS can be incredibly expensive. And what I did is I actually showed pictures of my mom and my sister as like, these are what the feminine people in my family look like. And for me, it's like, I feel like, I kind of feel like you sometimes, because I feel like my nose is like pretty big still, but it's like natural for a Latina woman's nose. So it's like, whatever. Because I actually asked, because my surgeon was a black man and I wanted to like keep the ethnic portions of my face. Like, I don't want to look like a white Barbie doll, no offense. And I didn't want a ski slope nose and things like that. So I was like, because it's not part of the, not Latina, right? So there's a lot of different ways that you can approach it. I always think that subtle is best in my mind. For me, it worked best for me. It's like, if you look at photos from me now from before, it's like there's a change and you can see it, but the change is very subtle but significant. It's hard to say. I had a really good surgeon. But yeah.
I think it's important to note that subtle changes are significant because, one, you have an entire area of your brain dedicated to interpreting faces. Like it's called the fusiform face area. There is a literal chunk of your brain that is dedicated to looking at and categorizing faces. So small changes have a massive impact on you, like on a neurological level. So it seems subtle, but it's really important for people like making assumptions about your gender correctly. And that's why, you know, gender is a language. Medicine is a tool. This one's for you.
Okay, $5 from Kevin in the 413. After I get out of the homeless shelter, I'm going to proceed with transitioning. It's well past time and to live my true life. Take care, y'all. Oh, well, good luck with everything. I'm very happy that you're going to take that step.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for letting us know, Kevin. It's nice to hear back from you. I know we haven't seen, I don't know if I've seen your messages in chat in a while, so I'm glad to know you're hopefully you're doing all well. Right and getting on the path to transition, if that's what is right for you. 999 from Rainbow Wolf. I hope JK gets sued so hard that not even the Philosopher's Stone and the Deathly Hallows will revive her finances. I hope she will get sued so hard that Riddle's father will roll over his grave. Beautiful.
I agree. $5 from William Mattis. Obtuse rubber goose, green moose, guava juice, giant snake, birthday cake, large fries, chocolate shake, some crazy shit for you to say. Thank you. It was a really good, it was like tongue twister.
It's honestly such a shame that I forget the artist's name. The guy who made Fairly Odd Parents is like a hardcore right-wing conservative who thinks that you can like pray away autism and shit like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
He also
You
made
know,
like Danny Phantom and like a couple other really good shows that were like, his art style is just iconic. Everyone loves it. Everyone knows fucking this song from the theme of Fairly Odd Parents. Like,
yeah, it's wild. So I would say things like this when I was practicing my voice, like transition. So it'd be like, obtuse rubber goose, green moose, Java juice, giant snake birthday cake, large fries, chocolate shake, some crazy shit for you to say.
right. No, totally. That's how you get comfortable with like where to place resonance. Also, I'll say people feel so silly doing that, and you really shouldn't, because I think you're not necessarily going to speak when you get to the place where it's like your actual speaking voice. You're not going to sound like you do when you're practicing. Like, that is just you playing with your voice and getting control. So don't be afraid to do that. Butch Hartman is his name. Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Cool art. Bad person. 20 pounds from Dan Welch. I support trans people 100%. The line is great, like all other atheist channels. Well, I wouldn't say all other atheist channels. I would definitely not say that. But thank you. I appreciate it.
All the line ones.
Yeah, the line is great.
All the line ones. Yeah.
Everyone who works here, I also think they're great, and I endorse their stuff. Yeah. But definitely there's so many atheists that I would not recommend their stuff ever.
5 pounds from Sean Usherwood. It's conjunctured at 9 to the 9th power plus y to the 9th power equals 7z to the 9th power. It's impossible to solve that for non-zero x, y, or z if 3 divides z, so said to be as difficult as Fermat's last theorem. I will take your word for it. I will just take, you know, Sean Usherwood, maybe if you're still in chat, I want to ask you a question. And because I want to verify, since you're a mathy person, is the hardest equation to calculate shooting a missile with another missile while it's in flight? Is that the hardest equation? I want to know, because it sounds like that is the hardest equation, but I'm not sure.
I have no idea. I don't even know how you'd begin to calculate that. But Sean has the desire to torture us further. So 5 pounds from Sean Isherwood again. Thanks, Sean. That is for integers. Sorry. Solutions like 0 to the 9th power plus 0 to the 9th power equals 7 times 0 to the 9th power don't count. That makes sense. That part, I actually understand why that wouldn't count for what you're looking for. But nothing else. Nothing else.
$10 from Brooks Dingus. Love y'all. Always a good show with you two. Aw, thank you.
Thanks.
The algorithm agrees.
That's true. 5 pounds from Dan Welch. Trans people have every right to be what they want to be. They shouldn't be judged about what they are not. It's about what you guys want from you guys want from Love, London, UK. I'm confused at the end, but thank you. Yes, trans people have the right to be who they are and to take up space.
$5 from Corey Springer. Well, thank you so much for the $5.
Thanks, Corey. $9.99 from Jeff Saloni. Montgomerie Dillahunty 2024 for a better America. I think you have to be a U.S. born citizen to be president, so that won't work. But I would vote for Katy if I could.
I immediately I'm too political brained. I'm just immediately calculating everything out, and I'm just like, what are the odds? What are the thoughts? And it's just like that meme with all of the numbers that hit in the background. And I'm just like,
the lady's looking all around. Yeah.
$9.99 from JW Edgy. The first time I used they them instead of he they was on this show. I've come out publicly since. Love the line.
Aww. See,
I'm glad that works out.
That's so good. I'm glad that people feel like they can because it's like so low. It's like there's no risk, right? If you call in and you just use a different set of pronouns to try it out, there is literally no drawback for you in your personal life to do a anonymous call on a show like this and have that. So I don't know. That's cool. I'm glad that was a way that you're able to like experiment and feel comfortable with yourself. Yay! Ooh, what was that sound? I don't know if that was in. Oh, sorry.
Is your place haunted? I mean, wait, we don't believe in that here.
Right? Oh, and this one's me. 10 Australian from Darren McAuliffe. McAuliffe? Oh, wow, I'm totally butchering that name. I am so sorry, Darren. Is it a good or bad counter argument to ask, should cis men be banned from sports because they have an advantage over trans men? I don't... The problem is that the people who are making this argument inherently, most of the time, believe in this, like, misogynistic notion of men are inherently better at absolutely everything, and that, like, an untrained man could beat a professionally trained woman at the same sport. So I don't know if this would really have an impact on them mentally. I tend to go to the angle of, is it ever acceptable to ban an entire group of people? Because I have found that even the most hardline conservatives will usually say no to that. And that gives us at least like a jumping off point where we can talk about like why the policies that they advocate for do exactly that. And why, if you don't agree with that, why do you support those policies and things like that?
Yeah. Also, Sean answered in the chat the Riemann hypothesis. Well, now I want to know what the Riemann hypothesis is used for. I don't want to know equations that are impossible. I want practical equations that can be actually calculated. And if the Riemann hypothesis is a hypothesis, it doesn't sound like it could be calculated. So, Sean, like, listen to the instructions, even though I wasn't clear. It's okay. I'm giving you crap because you give us crap by making us read all those equations. So,
that's right.
So this is all in gist and fun. 1999 from Narcissia. I think Narcissus. I'm so bad at spelling.
This is who called in earlier, I think.
That's right. I was trying to make sure that was right, and it said, you can keep trying, calm. I hear your pain, but in the end, you cannot sacrifice your life, even for your family. People will love you, and I love you already. Aw, thank you. And thank you for calling me here.
No, it's so true. You definitely... It's so frustrating because that's programmed into all of us. You know, there is a cultural element of it, but there's also just like a biological evolution part of it where you just want to trust that your parents know what they're talking about and are actually caring for you. But the fact is, some parents aren't really rooting for you. They're rooting for what they want you to be, or an image of you, or a concept of you that isn't aligned with reality, and it sucks.
$5 from Monkey at Typewriter. My dad didn't and doesn't like me. It just means that shitty people can have great kids. Now that I'm a dad, all I want is to hug everyone like Calm. Aww. That's so true, though.
Yeah. Oh, we have another 20 from Narcissa. Thank you so much. It's very generous. Calm, you have to be the best you. Josie got it right. You can't live for others, even if it's your family. They don't have the right. Don't sacrifice your life. Absolutely. Definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Never worth it.
Another $20. Thank you. Everybody's so generous today. From Mr. Buraku. I know I butchered that, and I'm sorry. 10. Pride can be a fucking nightmare in the Latin community. I'd know of it. I despise much of my family due to this dumb traditional pride of being intentionally closed-minded. As for Calm, still much love. I agree. It is really hard in the Latin community. It's hard. You know, they have to have something to be prideful of, and it's frustrating as all heck. Like, yeah, I am convinced, and I am convinced that if I were to like get into Congress, but as a Democrat, they would be ashamed that I'm a Democrat and not a Republican, but would have this like weird like cognitive dissonance of like, we're proud that she's in Congress, but she's a Democrat. oh God, what do we tell our friends? What do we tell our family?
Right?
Just like so weird. It's so weird.
Yeah. We have $5 from Caitlin Hebert. That was me, Josie. I asked you about what brings you euphoria when I asked for my advice to help my femininity blossom.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. You've changed my life. My life forever changed.
I love that.
I use that all the time now. I might even use it at the convention. I gotta introduce Sarah McBride at the LGBTQ caucus. I know, 2 minutes of amazingness. I get to go and do that. I might use Girl Boss Euphoria. I may use that in a speech.
That'd be so iconic.
Yeah, I know. 5 pounds from MJ. That was such a difficult call to listen to, and it was obvious so hard for you both. Please take care of your own mental health today. Aw, thank you. I'm going to take care of it by doing more work after this call.
We're going to see a Tim Minchin show, I think, after this.
Ooh.
So that's going to be fun.
That's more fun than what I got to do. I might be working into the wee hours of the night tonight.
I hope it's fun. I don't know how Tim Minchin is on trans stuff, and British comedians have a tendency to want to inject it into every little joke they do. So I'm really hoping it is just like his funny atheist, like anti-theist kind of humor, typical humor. We'll see. We've got $5 from Jamnico6. Crazy shit for you to say when it comes to lube. I like the spelling. I prefer KY jelly. That shit tastes great on toast. Even edible
even the flavored ones
are disgusting. Like I gag.
Yeah, and then the smell makes me not like. I don't like the smell of them either. Like it's just like, just make them odorless. Like just do that. $5 from William Mattis. Designer body, designer nose, designer lips, designer face, designer pussy. For me, please. Gotta win the lottery. I got a lot of those things.
I was just so confused at where we were in super chats. I thought I missed a few, but no, it's because William says super chatted several times, so the order confused me. We have another $20 from Narcissus. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the support. I'm not good at composing super chats, lol. Well, you've done a pretty good job. I understood everything you meant so far. The name is pronounced as... Oh, this is a chatter who is coming up soon? Yes. All right, so I'll remember that for later. Sorry. Distracted. ADHD. There you go.
5 pounds from Dan Wells. You're both perfect as you are. Oh,
thanks. $5 from William Mattis. This is a super chat about boobies.
Gotta love boobies. Who doesn't love boobies?
Everyone likes boobies.
That's true. $4.99 from poor Claire. Is it bad / wrong when Harry and Dumbledore dead name Voldemort? Oh, that's true. They do dead name him.
They call him
it's Tom Riddle. They call him Tom Riddle. And it's like, no, this is why Voldemort is actually the hero of the story from the genocidal, like slave-loving wizards that take the weapons from the people in the woods, make sure that the goblins don't have access to their treasures. There's a reason why the ministry falls, because they're supposed to.
Oh my gosh. If you describe him that way, I feel like you call him a socialist and you'll have all the tankies on Twitter being like, actually, Voldemort was so based. We have $10 from Starlight's Exotics. New watcher for the line. Love what y'all do, and this show in particular is helping me with discovering my gender identity. Oh, I'm so glad it's helping.
Thanks.
Also, Starlight Exotics, it looks like you have like a lizard in your profile picture. So if you are like a breeder of reptiles, I would love to know what you do, because if you just happen to stumble upon here and you don't know that Matt and myself are like big into reptile breeding, then that would be so weird. I would love to know what you do. It looks like I can't tell what lizard that could be
like
from.
A gray lizard with purple spots and green, a bluish green at turquoise eyes.
Yeah, that's not like a lizard I typically know. Gray and purple are not like a normal color combo, so I think it's
a gay lizard. It's fine. It's a pride lizard.
It is. That's right.
Yeah.
This is Mr. Boriqua. He wrote that in the chat.
Boriqua. $10 from Mr. Boriqua 10. I think the hardest to solve, or one of them, is to solve the grand unified theory, aka the theory of everything. Yay, science. Again, like, yes, there are hard equations out there, but I want like the hardest practical equation that engineers would have to come up with to actually create the science to hit a rocket with another rocket. Just sounds like it's incredibly complicated.
I'm sure.
That's why we never can do it. That's like I was in so many missile tests in the Navy where we would try to like shoot a rocket with bullets, and they would be like, "Woo, we got it!" And like, "You got it? No, we got within 100 feet." It's like, wait, that doesn't sound like we lived through that. Oh no, that's closer than we've ever been before. I'm like, oh man, this is a lot of confidence in floating out here in the middle of the ocean.
Somebody said Starlight's profile picture looked like a tokay. I kind of thought so, but tokay are usually like a blue overall with orange spots, so gray and purple is not right. But it did look like a tokay with its like structure. We have $20 here from Molly Shoemaker, who says, most days I wish I could be more femme, but sometimes I feel like I only want to pass because I'll feel safer around cis folks. Do you ever feel like the pressure to blend in is more harmful than helpful in the trans community? Yeah, I mean, I think that is a significant motivator for probably a lot of people, maybe even most. I don't know. There's part of me that feels like, would I love to live in a society where trans people are all safe and where we don't have to have these fears? Absolutely. But the reality is that we live in the world that we live in. And so I think these things may make you safer and like have a slightly happier, longer life in the world that we live in. I'm not saying that's right or that I like think it's okay, but you know, I do think, I don't know that, yeah, it's a difficult conversation to know exactly where the line is, but I think that's why it's kind of like a self-determination thing, right? Like if you want those procedures, if you want that sort of medical transition, then you can have that available to you. But if you don't, it doesn't like invalidate who you are, and like we should be trying to push people to broaden their scope of who fits in what categories. But yeah,
I agree.
Oh, and I see they said I'm not a breeder, but I educate about reptiles. That's awesome. I feel like I've
nice.
lost out on selling reptiles many times because I over info dump. But you know, that's
you never.
You need information. You're gonna care for a reptile. You need information. So
that's fair. $5 from Dominico6. If the VP is such a VIP, shouldn't we keep the PC on the QT? Because if it leaks to the VC, they may end up MIA. Then we'll all get put on KP. Oh, my elder millennial. I only got some of those things.
The VP is such a VIP. Shouldn't we keep the PC either personal computer or political correctness on the QT? On the
the down low? Is the QT the down low?
QT is what we call the gas station here in Texas, Quick Trip. I'm like, oh, you're gonna run down to the QT.
And like the VC is like the voice chat, and then MIA is missing in action. And KP, I have no idea what KP is.
Me either.
Is that
Gimmick's trying to mess with us though, so I think that's the point. A little bit. $10 from SJL. Parents can control your actions to some degree. For about 18 years, they can never control your thoughts unless you let them. Embrace your own sense of self. Yeah, it is hard. I understand from Com's position if, you know, they're saying, oh, we'll pay for your college or we'll help your college education, but only if you conform to our demands. even though you're older than 18, even though you don't technically have to listen to them, they're weaponizing financial support, and like financial abuse is absolutely a thing. So it's hard to know exactly where that line is. I've had my parents when I was, in my early adulthood do similar things for more trivial matters. And I don't know, it's not a non-existent power. If your parents are supposed to be helping you pay for something, or they said they would, and you go into that with that expectation, and then they're threatening to take it away, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough situation, and usually the people that are closest that are able to help with those things. Yeah. $10 from Raz Redcrest. People who spread misinformation about trans-affirming care for minors, calling it mutilation, seem to overlap with pro-circumcision ones. Am I off or seeing hypocrisy here? Oh yeah, you're not off. That's right. That's absolutely right.
Those groups definitely overlap because
Yeah.
they don't have any actual values. They just have lines going in their head, so they don't realize when they have mutually exclusive beliefs at the same time. $5 from Domestic. Thank you for leaving your noses alone. Well, I didn't leave my nose alone. It was altered in surgery. I just didn't give myself the, as Josie put it, the ski slope little Hollywood button nose. Like, I just was like,
You did
no,
have a bump.
right,
I got rid of the bump.
undo testosterone,
Yeah.
but like don't, give me a
I made my
totally-
nose a teeny bit smaller, and I
Yeah.
tried to get them to fix the curve, but that's usually impossible because noses bend.
Yeah, noses are difficult. I think
They
rhinoplasty is one of the highest surgeries or the highest regret rates for any sort of cosmetic procedure. Yeah.
$10 from Raz Redcrest. And now that I finally successfully got super chat sending, here's a tongue twister. I'm gonna do it in my pen practice voice. I'm not the fig plucker. I'm the fig plucker's son. But I'll pluck your figs till the fig plucker comes.
Oh my god. Oh my god, Raz. You're gonna pluck my figs. Stop.
Oh my gosh.
Take me to dinner first. Another $5 from Starlight's Exotics. Logo is a gargoyle gecko with purple stripes. Okay, not a breeder, but I educate people about reptiles and reptile keeping. That's awesome. We definitely need more of that. I love gargoyle geckos. I don't have any. I have a bunch of crusties. I want gargoyles, but I don't have the money to start that project. I got my first Saracenorum gecko just recently, and so I'm hopefully going to be getting a bigger enclosure that I can put him in shortly. I would love to have it like against the back wall, so it can be this like pretty enclosure in the back and be very scenic. We'll see. Where am I? Here we go.
Hey, $5 Canadian from Nonsense Aficionado. Happy vibes. Had a great time out yesterday with my teen kids. Teen kid. He's been my biggest supporter since he was 5. He really latched on to how hard being mom was for me, and I've been dad ever since. Oh, that's super great.
That's really
Good for
cute.
you. That is really cute. Kids get it. Kids are all right.
They're so tuned in to like...
Yeah, they are.
Those kinds of things. It's really cool. Another $5 from Domestic. Also, I think you're both lovely. Thank you, Domestic.
$10 from Dominic. I don't have a lizard in my YouTube photo, but I actually knew that one. But I did find an image of hippie raccoon that I could identify with as my persona. It replaced the photo of the autographed guitar I got from Matt at Free Flow. Nice. It's a cute raccoon now.
I'm glad that our chat is becoming pro-furry. Just don't tell Erika Guts It Given that she's also included in that. She'll deny it, even though it's super true. We have $5 from William Mattis that just says end. And that is true, because that is the last super chat of the day. Thank you so much to Steph for filling in for call screening. I know Jess, our normal screener, was sick today and she wasn't able to be here. So thank you for filling in, Steph. Thank you to the mods for being so helpful. Thank you to the callers and the audience, everyone who makes the show possible. It really means so much. Josie, you have anything else you want to add before we sign off?
Nope, other than I'm 5 minutes late to a commission meeting where I'm the chair of.
Let's get you the fuck out of here. Bye, everyone. You all have an absolutely wonderful day. Go to patreon.com/calltheline.
It's his hand. Yes, I did it.
Hey.
Be a part of this cool group of people.
That's
Let's
right.
do it. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
I love how we're not like quiet anymore.
Yeah.
Look at
we'll
this.
See you all next week.
It's getting so long.
It is getting really long.
You gotta wait until they're done. Okay, now we can.
Okay. Bye, everyone.